Chapter 468, Awaken. Chapter 468, Awaken. Shi Yang and Yin Hui went straight to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Along the way, they met some high-level beasts, but they somehow had some intelligence as they proactively avoided Yin Hui. Even though Yin Hui had a cultivation base of the second sky of Spirit Realm, he didn't intend to release his strong aura that much. However, it was enough to scare the demonic beasts away. The path they were taking was smooth and without any fear or danger. Eventually, on the third day, the two of them reached a forbidden area which had a lot of skeletons of antiquity demonic beasts. At first glance, they were all large-sized white skeletons. Each beast skeleton was as translucent as jade, sparkling with strange rays on the seabed. It gave people a feeling of full energy. Since they had reached this area, Yin Hui became more careful. He watched here and there at each step they took. Along the way, he had tried to probe the stories related to the life original fluid, but Shi Yang had dodged them all. No matter it was Yin Hui or the other spirit realm warriors who knew about the life original fluid, they would undoubtedly develop the greedy desire in their hearts. Shi Yang wasn't an idiot. If he told them that he did have the life original fluid, Enyu Lang would go crazy. Even if Enyu Lang was well known for his moral conduct, he was still a member of the Sea Tribes. Before he could have the ability to protect the life original fluid, if he disclosed it, Enyu Lang would use force to snatch it from him. Shi Yang wasn't confident in taking the upper hand against the peerless warrior of the Sea Tribes. Thus, keeping it on the low was necessary at this time. The area ahead of us has chaotic energies. Keep walking forward, it's the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Yin Hui ceased walking and frowned at him. I can accompany you only to this area. I don't want to die in vain. At last, I want to advise you this thing. If you don't want to die, you'd better stop here. Goodbye. Shi Yang smiled, but he didn't look worried at all. If I can return alive, I will visit you at the Silver Shark clan. At that time, perhaps we can do some real business. What business? Yin Hui was surprised. The one you are interested in. Shi Yang contemplated, then swayed his hand. I have to go. Thanks for guiding me here. Last question. You didn't get the life original fluid in the dark magnetic noxious mist, did you? Yin Hui wore a solemn face. Perhaps you will disappear from this world after this moment. Could you tell me the truth? He still stuck to this topic. When I come back safely, we will discuss it. Shi Yang smiled, then entered the area. Under the chaotic energies, he still walked calmly forward. Yin Hui's eyes brightened. He stood at his spot, looking at Shi Yang disappearing. His countenance was uncertain. Long afterward, he sighed and muttered, if you can come back alive, perhaps we should really talk. I hope you fella have plenty of luck, and that you could turn danger into good luck. The antiquity lofty dragon graveyard has buried so many talents of the Sea Tribes. If you can survive, it means you can do something the precursors of the Sea Tribes couldn't. It's enough for all strong warriors of the Sea Tribes to look at you with respect. Of course, Shi Yang couldn't hear what Yin Hui said. After he had intruded the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard, the blood vein ring started to sparkle, unceasingly releasing an immense, misty, blood halo. The white skeletons of the beasts were so many that it was beyond people's imagination. At first glance, the whole area was covered with white bones. With a closer look, Shi Yang found out many smaller skeletons among the giant beast skeletons. Those skeletons had different shapes with the signature of the Sea Tribes. Apparently, what Yin Hui and the other had told him was true. Thousands of years had gone by, and this ancient dragon graveyard had buried so many strong warriors of the Sea Tribes. Phosphorescent dots flew out from inside the skeletons from time to time. They were floating in the water, gazing at people like the eyes of demons. This caused people anxiety, and it could even affect the sea of consciousness somehow. The surging, cold and evil energies permeated the area. These kinds of energies were really massive. They created numerous vortexes that naked eyes couldn't see. If someone carelessly got in one of the vortexes, they would be devoured, leaving nothing behind. The scary rumors about this place grew in his mind. He was a little bit anxious, as his moves become more careful. Unexpectedly, these energies with intimidating attributes were moving chaotically around him, but they didn't storm over. When these scary energies came near him and contacted the halo from the blood vein ring, they would scatter proactively. The blood vein ring was like a life-protecting amulet. As it was glittering, it could prevent all kinds of energy attacks which could even kill God Realm warriors. Along the way, he unexpectedly didn't encounter any danger. The forbidden place that discolored people was so peaceful to him that he couldn't believe his eyes. Was the blood vein ring genuinely related to this forbidden place? Shi Yang's eyes brightened, and his confidence boosted up. Without the blood vein ring, he couldn't know neither of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard nor the bloodthirstis entourage of 8 Laro Luo's dark body. If the blood vein ring had guided him here, evidently, he needed not be worried that he would fall into dangerous situations. At this moment, he truly could appreciate the mystery of the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring was releasing a blood-like halo that could prevent all intrusions of evil forces in the lofty dragon's tomb. Along the way, all kinds of energies in the forbidden place had to disperse around him and couldn't attach to his body. He was gliding among all sorts of white skeletons. As he didn't encounter any risks, he directly entered the marvel he had never seen before. The 300-meter skeleton of the lofty dragon. The skeleton was snow-white, with a twinkling brilliance. The white frame of the lofty dragon stayed inside the house made of demonic beast skeletons. Right under the yellow dragon skeleton lay a giant black crystal coffin. The coffin lid was covered with all kinds of peculiar patterns, which looked pretty similar to the patterns on the blood vein ring. It seemed like they were moving slowly. An old, desolate, rude, and unreasonable aura vehemently burst out from the black coffin that shook people. The blood halo emitting from the blood vein ring suddenly became fiercer, releasing a scarlet light beaming over the black coffin. The mysterious patterns on the coffin seemed like they were revived, moving faster on the coffin. A dark, evil energy shot out from there. Bang! The lid of the coffin exploded into pieces. A black iron puppet that was around 3 meters tall sat up in the coffin. This puppet was covered in iron armor, which seemed to grow directly on its body, connected perfectly without any gaps or slits. This puppet wore an ink-black ferocious mask that exposed only its swarthy, empty pupils. The color of its pupils was vague, and Shi Yang didn't know what could have had happened to them. Bang bang, bang bang. A strong heartbeat reverberated from the puppet. It seemed like it had an extremely exuberant heart that could transport the world-shaking dark energy for the puppet's body. The puppet got up from the coffin, looking at the blood vein ring. A scarlet beam shot out from the blood vein ring, shining directly onto the pupils of the puppet. The black pupils of the puppet gradually turned dark red, and it seemed like there was a drop of blood inside each of its pupils, which was really terrifying. A strange soul fluctuation was generated from the scarlet light, pouring into the puppet. Deep inside the puppet's pupils, an illusion of the immense blood sea with countless skeletons of many clans could be seen. Corpses laid everywhere, piling up like mountains. Blood gushing out from those corpses had generated all sorts of sinister patterns. It was like some soul ritual had been performed. Seemed like the red beams from the blood vein ring had activated this antiquity demogorgon. The puppet in the coffin received the mysterious scarlet light from the blood vein ring in silence. Seemed like it was about to be wakened up from some ancient, intimidating place, and brought back to this world. A black light started to shoot out from the puppet. This dark light was filled with a terrorizing, destructive aura. The meaning of this puppet's existence somehow was to destroy everything in this world, bringing this world into the endless darkness. Shi Yang felt suffocated standing in front of that puppet and sensing the dark, devastating aura from it. It felt like a 10,000 meters tall castle suddenly pressed down on his heart, which made him feel out of breath. He had never received this kind of a pressure from any strong warrior. Even when he was facing Devil Emperor Kai Yang, he hadn't experienced such strenuous pressure. How terrifying this existence was. Shi Yang's face changed. Looking at that puppet, he wondered if his decision of entering the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard this time was good or bad. He came and used his blood vein ring to wake up a black puppet which had the dark and destructive aura. The surging energy from this puppet was truly earth-shaking. This snatched his confidence away. If this man weren't controlled, and he could swagger around the seabed and on land as he pleased, it would be unknown how many warriors undersea and on land would have to suffer, along with the innocent civilians. This formidable existence had the power to destroy the entire endless sea. Shi Yang wore a cold face, gazing attentively on that puppet. He didn't dare to distract his mind, as he was afraid that this puppet would make any strange moves. Bloodthirst's entourage of 8, Laro Luo's dark body. Was the puppet that guy? Or was it just a clone? Laro Luo was just one of the Bloodthirst's entourage of 8. If so, how tremendous was the former owner of the Bloodvein Ring? The God King. Regret started to swell up in Shi Yang, as he thought that he had made a wrong decision this time. Numerous beams of scarlet light radiated from the Bloodvein Ring, and all of them fell into the pupils of Laro Luo's dark body. The eyes of the puppet gradually become darker, just like the 2 dark suns that could absorb all light. Eventually, the light from the Bloodvein Ring ceased. A soul-conscious seal shot out from the Bloodvein Ring, darting to the host soul in his sea of consciousness. The Imperial Soul Imprint. Chapter 469, The War Devil. Chapter 469, The War Devil. Sigma. That was an imprint that controlled spirit. This imprint had reached an agreement with Laro Luo's body. When Shi Yang let his mind sink into the imprint, he found that he could control that black iron puppet. It was a marvelous sense he couldn't describe. As soon as his thought sent a message to the Imperial Soul Imprint, this unidentified black iron puppet would do as he asked. His mind flickered, and the black iron puppet walked toward him. A malicious aura exuded from the puppet that sent shivers down Shi Yang's spine. Under this tremendous pressure, he had the tense feeling he had never had before. But his Bloodvein Ring had the power to control this Laro Luo's dark body. Shi Yang relaxed his tense nerves and started to study the soul imprint in his host soul, letting his mind sink into it and send out messages. As expected, the black iron puppet was changing its positions unceasingly according to his wishes. What he thought, the puppet would implement. His eyes suddenly brightened. As his messages were being sent along, the black iron puppet was swiftly gliding inside the skeleton of the lofty dragon. War Devil. The ice-cold flame sent him its thought from inside the Bloodvein Ring. It seemed to be frightened. Hey! Shi Yang was surprised, but he reacted immediately. You know the origin of this fellow? The fighting puppet was forged by warriors of the Antiquity era. It has the pure fighting will and can break even the hardest defense. The information the ice-cold flame gave him was exciting. Where did you get him? This is absolutely the fighting puppet made by warriors in ancient times. He's called War Devil. Only warriors in that era knew how to refine war devils. The aura on this War Devil is extraordinarily vicious. I think it has at least the power of peak spirit realm. So, what are the War Devils? War Devils are fighting puppets that were born for fighting. High-level War Devils can have the fighting imprint of their masters. That's how it could have its master's divine abilities. To refine a War Devil, it needs hundreds or even 1,000 years together with the consumption of endless resources of earth and firmament. It has to absorb the special energies from heaven and earth to be formed gradually. Seemed like the ice-cold flame did know about this puppet, as it hurried to explain Shi Yang. As far as I've known, in that era, each War Devil was very formidable. It could be used as a clone of its master with the master's divine soul imprint, and its effects were huge. War Devils from the Antiquity time. Shi Yang's eyes brightened. Perhaps the previous owner of the Bloodvein Ring was a strong warrior in the ancient time? Or it was even older than the Antiquity, the time the first warriors ever appeared. Suddenly, he was dazed. He had never thought that the origin of the Bloodvein Ring was beyond his imagination. The Antiquity was the dawn of the warriors, which had the strongest warrior in the legends. They said that there were some peerless warriors, whose powers even surpassed the God King limit. They had intimidating powers, and their bodies could leave the Grace mainland to travel the vast celestial area. If the Bloodvein Ring came from that era, its previous owner must be an earth-shaking warrior. Why did he die? Why did the Bloodvein Ring appear in that worn-out cave? Why had he appeared in that cave from another world by chance? Did that antiquity warrior know how to switch time and space to bring people from another era to this world? As he could use the heaven and earth that much, what kind of fantastic level had he reached? He was totally dumbstruck. At this moment, he suddenly realized it wasn't coincidental that he had appeared in that cave. Perhaps, all the key factors stayed in the blood vein ring. Warriors at that time could understand all kinds of power in the heaven and earth, and various other mysterious meanings. All the current martial techniques, soul techniques, or martial spirits are inherited from warriors of that era. It's the era of the origin of warriors, the root of warriors. The ice-cold flame told Shi Yang all it knew. Shi Yang became more frightened as he listened to the flame's description. According to the ice-cold flame, the antiquity was the peak era of the warriors. Compared to them, the present warriors in this world were as small as ants that they could kill within a second. This war devil fighting puppet was born in that time. It can penetrate all sorts of hardest defenses. If you can control it, there will be no one in the endless sea that can subdue you. Shi Yang couldn't help but get stirred up. The trip to the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard was smoother than he had expected. Since he had heard many terrible rumors about the lofty dragon's tomb, he was anxious when he entered the place, and he even thought that he had to risk his life to see the lofty dragon skeleton. He wasn't so sure he could find that coffin. It was unexpected that with the blood vein ring's guidance, he hadn't experienced any terrifying adventure. It was like he was taking a stroll to the center of the lofty dragon graveyard. Now, he had found the dragon's skeleton and this black iron puppet. Everything was so smooth that he couldn't believe his own eyes. It hadn't even been a full day, and he had what he wanted. This harvest made him laugh with satisfaction. All thanks to the blood vein ring. The mystical treasure he got when he had just come to the Grace mainland did have such a strange power, and its profile was so amazing. Moreover, it could wake up the war devil fabricated by Laro Luo. War devil. Shi Yang curled his lips, looking at the puppet called War Devil, and couldn't help but feel lucky. He was lucky that he got the blood vein ring. After running around the lofty dragon graveyard one round, he found that the chaotic energies here were silently transmitted into the war devil puppet. All sorts of energies existing in the dragon's tomb had been attracted by the war devil, and they were storming over, disappearing into the puppet's body. War devil took them in all. However, its aura wasn't increasing, but slowly retreating into its body. From the imprint in his host soul, Shi Yang knew that the dark energy in the war devil's heart had been increasing fast. But the war devil was as if it were a profound warrior who knew how to hide his intimidating aura. The imposing pressure was slowly gone. Shi Yang wasn't hurried, waiting for the war devil to absorb the energy right inside the lofty dragon skeleton. Outside the graveyard, Yin Hui frowned waiting for him. All of a sudden, he recognized that the dense, chaotic energies had been diluted. This phenomenon surprised Yin Hui a lot. Light flashed across his eyes as he was staring at that area. Why's that happening? Yin Hui was dumbfounded for half of a day. He shook his head then muttered disbelievingly. It's just been 2 days. Has that kid met something strange in there? Why did the chaotic energy start to change not long after he entered the place? Does he know the subtle mysteries of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard? Yin Hui was frightened. Hey! Something's strange over there. Ji Xiao's eyes flared up while searching for his target in the seawater. He pointed to the lofty dragon graveyard's general direction. He furrowed his eyebrows then asked the others. Do you know what's the place over there? Is that the Silver Shark clan's territory? Why does it have such a tremendous surging energy like that? Sichu Jie shook his head, hesitated for a while and then his face discolored all of a sudden. That's the lofty dragon graveyard. Lofty dragon graveyard? Ji Xiao was surprised as he shook his head, asking puzzlingly. What's that? The most mysterious forbidden area undersea. Sichu Jie was the consecrator of the martial spirit palace in the Vault of Heaven Sea area, and had visited the seabed before. He knew there was a mysterious place like that undersea, which all the sea tribes members considered the forbidden area, and never dared to intrude. Sichu Jie simply described all kinds of rumors about the lofty dragon's forbidden place. The warriors of the Endless Sea had their faces discolored after they listened to him. The Sea Tribe's forbidden place. Cao Lan mused for a while before speaking up. Perhaps it isn't related to Shi Yang. He isn't stupid to enter that area. According to you, even the God Realm warriors of the Sea Tribes couldn't escape death if they came to that area. Would he dare to risk his life? Who knows? Sichu Jie was hesitant for a moment before giving his suggestion. Searching in vain isn't a good solution. If that lofty dragon's graveyard has something anomalous, perhaps it will be related to the moves of the Sea Tribes. We aren't afraid to go there and check it out. All right. Everybody nodded in agreement. Let's go. Soon, the warriors from the Endless Sea had arrived at the edge of the lofty dragon's forbidden place, and met Yin Hui there. Silver Shark Clan's patriarch. Zhu Yu Feng discolored, as he instinctively frowned when he thought they had come to the right place. It was certain that warriors of the Sea Tribes were doing something they didn't want the others to know here. Yin Hui was also surprised. He shook his head, then looked at the other with an odd face. I didn't expect that you guys could come here. Yeah, good fortune. But it's useless even if you can come here. Shi Yang's in the lofty dragon's tomb. If you aren't afraid of death, you can go there to find him. What? Cao Lan shouted. She was astonished that they had found Shi Yang's whereabouts. Is he really there? Sichu Jie was excited, grinning. Seems like God does want that brat to die. Let's see if he can leave this place alive. If he does come out, what's good for you if you're waiting for him here? Yin Hui wanted to stir up the mess. He's been there for almost 3 days. Although I don't know what's going on there, I'm sure the change in the area related to him. If you want to kill him, just get in there directly. Ha, we can wait outside. Zhong Li Dun smiled. Of course, he wouldn't fall into the other's trap. Being the future leader of the Martial Spirit Palace, he knew how intimidating the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard was. Apparently, he wouldn't take risks. Well then, just take your time. Chapter 470, Come Out. Chapter 470, Come Out. Outside the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard, 6 Spirit Realm warriors, including Sichu Jie, Qing Ming, and the 4 Cao Lan, Pan Zhe, Kang Lan and Zhong Li Dun, were waiting for something in silence. Yin Hui was standing 10 meters away from those 10 people. He was calm, and didn't show any trace of fear. This place was undersea, the territory of the Silver Shark clan, and Yin Hui had a cultivation base of the second sky of Spirit Realm, which was higher than the others. If he wanted to run away, even the 6 people of Sichu Jie's group couldn't hold him back. Since his realm was higher than theirs, Yin Hui was relaxed, watching over this group of warriors. That kid has entered the lofty dragon graveyard. Perhaps, we don't need. Sichu Jie coldly looked in the direction of the graveyard. Thousands of years have passed by, and numerous hotshots of the Sea Tribes had intruded the place, but no one could come out alive. Although that kid has good fortune, I don't think he could break this record. Zhong Li Dun nodded in agreement. As the members of the Vault of Heaven Sea area, these two had heard about the intimidation of the lofty dragon's tomb. They knew many rumors about the area, so as they thought that Shi Yang couldn't come back alive. If it were someone else, we wouldn't need to wait. Cao Lan frowned, talking with a solemn tone. But Shi Yang isn't a somebody. I've known him for several years, and he has brought me many strange feelings. He has many factors different from the others. If not, he couldn't progress that fast. I think he even has the ability to deal with you guys. I also think that he can come back alive. Pan Zhe wore a bitter smile. Don't know why, but I always feel Shi Yang is different from the others. Things they couldn't do, he may fulfill. You two are the strong young warriors of the Endless Sea. Have you been scared by Shi Yang that much? I think you two have a blind admiration for that brat. Zhong Li Dun snorted and then said with morose face. Even if he's strong, will he be more mighty than the precursor of the Sea Tribes? I don't actually know what kind of special power he could have to survive and come back from the lofty dragon's tomb. If he didn't have the confidence, he would not enter the place. Cao Lan threw him a glance and said with her stiff face and impolite tone. Forgive me if I'm too frank, but Shi Yang has many dangerous skills that you can't even imagine. Yeah, you were the top warrior of the combat list, the most prominent young warrior of Endless Sea. But Shi Yang's existence has broken your title. No matter you accept the fact or not, he's stronger than you. Zhong Li Dun's grimaced. Light flashed in his eyes as he couldn't accept her saying. I admit that I have looked down on him, Cao Zhilan continued indifferently. But I don't disdain you. I can say clearly that you, Zhong Li Dun, are too weak compared to Shi Yang. Zhong Li Dun, if you are able, why do you need many seniors accompanying you to catch Shi Yang? I think, if Shi Yang wants to kill you, he needs only 1 second. Zhong Li Dun's eyes were cold, his face getting more and more malicious. All right, Situ Jie furrowed his brows. Shi Yang is really dangerous. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to gather many people here to catch him. Anyway, don't be dispirited. No matter how powerful he is, he has to die this time. It's been many years since the Endless Sea has had some dazzling stars. But many of the ones that appeared had been shut off before they could grow up. Shi Yang's about to fall into the same track. I hope so. Cao Zhilan shook her head then let out a slight sigh. Her heart was filled with resentment. What made her regret the most was her narrow vision. If she had believed Shi Yang and tied the Cao family and Shi Yang together, the current situation would have been different from now. She was the proudest and most arrogant among the young generations of the Cao family. She had pride, but that pride had been torn apart after she got to know Shi Yang. Shi Yang's appearance reminded her that there was someone in the Endless Sea who could subdue her in many aspects. She had been dissatisfied, and perhaps she didn't want to admit it. So, after she had known about the pagans and the decline of the Yang family, she put down her emotional approval and decided to give up on Shi Yang, turning her back on the Yangs. It turned out that her decision was wrong. Those people were still waiting in ambush outside the dragon's graveyard. 5 days passed by like a flash. All kinds of chaotic energies inside the graveyard had disappeared completely. As they were spirit realm warriors, they all recognized that scary change and were discreetly frightened. Especially Yin Hui. He had seen with his own eyes that 2 days after Shi Yang had entered the place, those kinds of evil and peculiar energies wandering for hundreds of years inside the lofty dragon's tomb had been changed. In just a short period, they were all gone. This phenomenon had never happened before. He had been living for so many years undersea, but he had never heard about this strange phenomenon in the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Apparently, it was related to Shi Yang. Anticipation gradually grew in him. At first, he hadn't expected anything. But now, something strange had happened inside the graveyard, which was unprecedented for thousands of years. Perhaps, Shi Yang could really return alive. Another day had gone by. A dark air current pervaded in the water, drifting quickly while emitting blisters everywhere. There was some kind of a peculiar power inside those blisters. In just a blink of an eye, several thousands of blisters appeared, then slowly gathered into a giant chunk of blister. However, that blister then disappeared into thin air as if some creature had devoured it. A long while later, a silhouette emerged from the graveyard, calmly walking towards this direction. Behind him walked a 3-meter-tall black iron puppet. The hefty-built puppet was moving agilely, giving people a strange illusion of willow catkin. One man and one black iron puppet were walking like that towards the other people standing in front of the tomb. Yin Hui's eyes brightened up. The 6 spirit realm warriors suddenly put on cold faces, as divine light shot out from their eyes, shining on Shi Yang. He has returned, Yin Hui muttered with a complicated expression. He was dumbfounded for a while before shifting his look on Situ Jie's group of 6, frowning as he was considering how to deal with the upcoming big fight. His unexpectedly coming out from the lofty dragon graveyard. Zhong Li Dun's face was grimaced. His eyes were as sharp as a saber, sneering all of a sudden. But his end is still going to be death. The young man strolled over, not intending to dodge the others. He came in front of them and then curled his lips. Such a mighty formation. Well, it's not been even 10 days, and you can already come back from the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Yin Hui beamed a forced smile. I admit that I always looked down on you. But I can't imagine you could fulfill what the hotshots of the sea tribes couldn't do. Shi Yang, I have found that you have infinite potential. Shi Yang smiled but didn't say anything. Yeah, I think you can be as stable as Mount Tai under the siege of those 6 spirit realm warriors. Yin Hui's face became solemn. All of a sudden, a white beam shot out from his eyes, entering Shi Yang's soul. At the same time, a message was transmitted to Shi Yang. If you need help, you only need to nod, and I will bring you out of the siege of those 6 people. Yin Hui's realm was much higher than Sichu Jie and his men. This message sent by his soul consciousness directly contacted with Shi Yang's soul, and the others couldn't hear it. Under Yin Hui's bright eyes, Shi Yang smiled, then shook his head, indicating he didn't need help. Yin Hui was both amazed and suspicious. He didn't know why Shi Yang had such pride to deny his offer. This kid had some new method to flee away, perhaps. The more he thought about it, the more curious Yin Hui was. He stayed aside to observe what miracle method Shi Yang had. He didn't dare to think that Shi Yang could kill those 6 spirit realm warriors. Although they were just at the first sky of spirit realm, if the 6 of them joined hands, even Yin Hui would find it hard to encounter. Sichu Jie, Zhu Yufeng, Ji Xiao, Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, and the Emperor of Earth. Shi Yang looked at them and called out their names. He nodded and smiled. Good. Those who should have come, have come. Seems like you all are in a hurry to kill me. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. It saves me from more troubles. Shi Yang. The beautiful eyes of Cao Zhilan were sad, as she spoke up with a soft voice. If you give up willingly and self-destroy your cultivation base, I can save your life. Miss Cao. Qing Ming, Sichu Jie, Ji Xiao and Zhong Li Dun shouted before she could finish her talk. Their faces changed. No doubt he has to die. Absolutely no chance for him to escape death. I think we've talked about this very clearly. Cao Zhilan frowned. Do we really have to kill him? If he isn't a threat to us, we can spare his life. Do not raise your words again. Sichu Jie's voice was strong. He has to die. No one can change this. The group of Qingming also nodded seriously. Cao Zhilan sighed, frowned, and shut her mouth. Ha ha. Seems like you really think that I have to die this time, eh? Shi Yang's mouth cracked into a smile. He seemed to not be in a hurry at all. With only 4 spirit realm warriors, and you're so confident that you expect me to die even before we start our fight. Do you really have such confidence? Do you think there would be some surprises? Zhong Li Dun smiled and ridiculed. I think, yes, Shi Yang smiled. A huge surprise. Perhaps, in the end, the ones who would have to run for their lives will be you guys, and not me. His dark and cold eyes gazed at Zhong Li Dun, just like an ice sword taken out of its scabbard, diffusing thick murderous intent. Chapter 471, Rip in Half. Chapter 471, Rip in Half. After Laro Luo's dark body had absorbed the chaotic energies inside the lofty dragon's tomb, it could hide its aura, completely concealing its crazy, ominous, and imposing aura. Thus, even Sichu Jie's group only saw a black iron puppet behind Shi Yang. They didn't pay attention to it because the black puppet didn't emit any unusual aura. They thought that this black puppet was just a regular one, so they didn't lay their eyes on it. Only Yin Hui, who was at the second sky of Spirit Realm, plus had seen Shi Yang go there alone, could confirm that this black iron puppet was from the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard. He then kept an eye on this war devil black iron puppet. The soul consciousness of the second sky of Spirit Realm warrior was released invisibly to peep on the mysterious features of the war devil. However, as soon as his soul consciousness got there, it was as if it had fallen into the vast sea, echoing nothing at all. It was like his soul consciousness had been drawn into a black hole. The connection between him and the soul consciousness was also cut off, and he couldn't track it back. Yin Hui's countenance changed quietly, as his mind was struck and tense. Even Enyu Lang, who was at the third sky of Spirit Realm, couldn't devour his soul consciousness while leaving no trace like that. What was that fearful black iron puppet? Yin Hui was scared. He vaguely got something when eyeing Shi Yang. The anomalous event that happened in the Lofty Dragon's graveyard was obviously related to this black iron puppet. Perhaps, what caused it was this puppet. The more Yin Hui thought about the matter, the more frightened he became when he looked at Shi Yang and the black iron puppet. Light flickered in his eyes as his heart was dreading. One should definitely not provoke this kid. Yin Hui had made up his mind that no matter what happened, he would not do anything that irritated Shi Yang. At this moment, he knew his finding would change the future situation of the Endless Sea. Shi Yang himself was scary enough. Now, from the lofty dragon's tomb, he got a black iron puppet, which was in defiance of the natural order. In the Endless Sea, who could go against him? Yin Hui was frightened inside. He instinctively took several steps back, held up his hand and said, "No matter what you guys want to do, I'm not going to interfere your business. Anyway, I want to make it clear that I'm just an observer. If you guys engage in a fight, don't count me in." Shi Yang wore a contemplating face before bursting out in laughter. He knew this cunning old folk had sensed something. "Why do you need to waste more time?" Sichu Jie's countenance was calm. He looked at Jiu Xiao, Qing Ming and grinned. "You've been waiting for so long. Now, he's here in front of you guys. We will get it done once and for all, so would we still have to bear the threat from this brat? When he dies, we can focus on dealing with the Dark Dwellers and Demon Dwellers," said Zhongli Dun with a cold smile. "You will die first. Don't know why I always feel irritated seeing you." Shi Yang shook his head and sneered. "Don't appreciate yourself too high. In the Endless Sea, you are not the new star. In the Grace Mainland, you're nothing. There are so many young people of the Divine Great Land who have reached the Sky Realm. Also, there are some who are in defiance of the natural order as they have reached the peak of the Sky Realm. Compared to them, you, Zhongli Dun, you are nothing." His words had shaken everybody. "You've been to the Divine Great Land?" Pan Zhe was astounded. Shaking his head, Shi Yang explained patiently. "Not yet. Wait until the things in the Endless Sea's over. I'll go there to search for the ultimate mystery of martial arts. Anyway, I've been to the dark magnetic noxious mist. I got to know many young fellows of the Divine Great Land. Every single one of them is much stronger than Zhongli Dun. Haha, and they aren't the shining stars of the Divine Great Land. I'm telling you, don't be the frog hiding under the coconut shell and think that the Endless Sea is the best place. In their eyes, the Endless Sea's just a place of barbarians. We don't even have a single true God Realm warrior. Always staying in such a place, how pathetic we are." All the warriors, including Yin Hui, discolored. "Forget it. I'm not going to waste my time with you guys." He smiled, waved his hand while pointing at Zhongli Dun. "Start with him. Kill anyone you can. Never mind if they run away. They'll die sooner or later. Who dares to linger, kill them all." Zhongli Dun was shaken, his face dumbfounded. Sichu Jie's group were bewildered, not knowing to whom Shi Yang was talking. But right after that, they knew to whom Shi Yang had assigned these tasks. The 3-meter-tall black iron puppet war devil deliberately walked out from behind him, strolling towards Zhongli Dun. It was slow at first, but its pace was getting faster and faster after each step. Ultimately, the war devil turned into a black thunderbolt and shot toward Zhongli Dun. Its two eyes were like two dark suns that gazed at Zhongli Dun. An evil, vicious energy that could drown people's minds into endless darkness was suddenly released. When Zhongli Dun met the war devil's eyes, he was stunned, blankly standing at his spot. Crack! The war devil flew over and stomped on the top of Zhongli Dun's head. People then heard the sound of cracking bones. Zhongli Dun was turned into a pulp of flesh after just one strike. Sichu Jie could only watch the scene of Zhongli Dun getting killed, and didn't have enough time to help. On the contrary, he had to urge all the strength of his soul consciousness to resist the intimidating soul energy intruding. He suddenly found himself dragged into a world of endless darkness. No beam of light could be seen. His soul consciousness sank as it met the death and destructive intent domain there, just like he was a dead man entering a strange, eccentric space. An earth-shattering, dark aura expanded from the war devil, which had just killed Zhongli Dun. This malicious aura seemed to want to destroy the whole world, enveloping the entire seabed of the Vault of Heaven Sea area. At this moment, all Spirit Realm warriors were dumbfounded as fear filled their faces. Even the two great warriors above the Vault of Heaven Sea area noticed this torrential, ominous source of evil. They hurriedly got out of the vault of Heaven's sea area, plunging into the sea with their fastest pace. At the same time, inside the extinct volcanoes of the Black Flood Dragon clan, Nu Lang was talking with the 3 Spirit Realm warriors. He suddenly got pale-faced as he shouted, "Such a strong, evil force. Patriarch, what's going on? Since your realms are still low and your knowledge of souls is shallow, you can't sense it." Nu Lang got up suddenly. "That evil energy comes from the Silver Shark clan. Seems like it's from the lofty dragon graveyard. I have to go there to see." Then, Nu Lang turned into a bunch of light, shooting straight to that area. Yin Hui was utterly stunned. Although he knew that War Devil should be extraordinary, he didn't expect that its terrifying aura could cover the whole territory of the Silver Shark clan. Such a destroying earth force could subdue all hotshots present here. "Kill him." Shi Yang pointed at Sichu Jie. The War Devil got it. The pupils looked like 2 dark suns as they gazed at Sichu Jie, destroying his mentality. His face was blank, just like what Zhongli Dun's. It's entered Sichu Jie's soul. Jiu Xiao woke up from fear and immediately shouted, "Join hands and deal with this black iron puppet. We can't let it kill each of us like that." His words woke up everyone. The Queen of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, Qing Ming and Zhu Yufeng took action together. They urged their secret treasures and their outstanding martial arts. Sacred swords, small cauldrons, jade, knife, and fork, etc., all utilized their special energies and joined each other. Many kinds of beautiful holy lights radiated, shooting towards the War Devil. Rumble, rumble. Although it was receiving the attack from various kinds of secret treasures and energies, the War Devil stood still like a stone table. No scratch could be seen on its body. The black iron armor on its body was the strongest wall in the world, unafraid of any kinds of power. Under numerous attacks of secret treasures and energies, the War Devil sauntered towards Sichu Jie. Its massive arms stretched out, grabbed Sichu Jie by his legs and ripped him in half. The body with the spirit realm cultivation of Sichu Jie was like a piece of paper in the puppet hands. He was torn apart, and bloody intestines fell on the ground. Even Sichu Jie's soul, which hadn't got out of his body yet, perished under the gaze of the puppet's dark pupils. Both the flesh body and the soul were destroyed. In just a short moment, Sichu Jie had been killed and even his soul was destroyed. Zhongli Dun was smashed into a pulp of meat, with nothing left behind. Shi Yang's complexion was a little shaken, but he burst out laughing. "Well done. Worth my expectations." The power of the War Devil was what he had imagined, as it was capable of terminating warriors like Sichu Jie. After the War Devil had taken action, Shi Yang felt at ease as he knew he would definitely win this time. "What the heck is it?" The Queen of Heaven Fan Xiong-Yun's voice was shaking. Deep fear flooded her charming face. "No matter what it is, it should have some weakness." Zhu Yufeng shouted. "Kill Shi Yang first. If he dies, this fighting puppet will lose its effect." Everybody responded to his shout, looking at Shi Yang. The next one, Shi Yang curled his lips, pointing at Zhu Yufeng. A blood light shot out from the War Devil's dark pupils, striking towards Zhu Yufeng. A beam of dark, endless light flew out from its mouth, which seemed to be able to devour all kinds of lights. When it appeared, all the light undersea was absorbed. The whole place became pitch dark, and one couldn't even see his own fingers. In this complete darkness, Zhu Yufeng's pitiful scream rose. Everyone heard it, but they couldn't see what had happened. In the immense darkness, Zhu Yufeng's voice was so mournful, which didn't seem to belong to a human at all. The irritating sound of dismembering flesh and breaking bones echoed from time to time. This was absolutely terrifying. Under the situation that they couldn't see anything but only hear the dreadful screams, it was much worse than seeing someone being buried or dismembered alive. Although Qing Ming and the Queen of Heaven had the spirit realm cultivation base, they couldn't bear such pressure. They couldn't help but cry, then tried all means to get to the sea surface. Gradually, Zhu Yufeng's heartrending shrill ceased. The darkness on the seabed also lifted up. Zhu Yufeng wasn't there, and was replaced a pile of smashed meat, just like it was grounded by a meat grinder. It was really terrible to look at him now. Chapter 472, Strong Crowd. Chapter 472, Strong Crowd. It seemed only in a short moment, but the trio of Sichu Jie, Zhongli Dun, and Zhu Yufeng had been smashed, receiving a pathetic death on the spot. Shi Yang didn't do anything. He just stood there and indifferently watched the war devil demonstrate its terrifying power, killing 2 spirit realm warriors and Zhongli Dun. It had happened too fast, and many of them couldn't react before they saw the pulp that used to be Sichu Jie and Zhu Yufeng. Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, Ji Xiao and the Emperor of Earth felt shivers running down their spines on hearing the terrible shrill in the darkness. They couldn't bear it anymore, and all flew up towards the sea surface at top speed. Shi Yang didn't hurry. He waited until Zhu Yufeng got killed, smiled and looked at the sea surface. He then shook his head, speaking up coldly, "The monks can run away, but the temple stays. The result's all set. Even if they don't die now, it's only death waiting for them in the future." After Sichu Jie, Zhu Yufeng and Zhongli Dun died, their essence qi left their bodies. As expected, it all flew towards Shi Yang. Anyway, Sichu Jie's essence qi was beyond his imagination. The essence qi of the spirit realm warrior made his 720 acupuncture points swollen. Shi Yang didn't wait until he could get all the essence qi and instinctively got away from this bloody, messy place. It wasn't that he didn't want it. It was just him knowing his limit. Although the upper limit to absorb the energy of his mysterious martial spirit had increased a lot after he had entered the sky realm, the essence qi of a spirit realm warrior was actually too much. Sichu Jie's alone was enough to fill his acupuncture points. If he got more from Zhu Yufeng and Zhongli Dun, he was afraid that his acupuncture points would be blown away. That's why he had to stay away and wait until their essence qi scattered in heaven and earth before approaching the area again. Yin Hui stood petrified at his spot, his eyes gazing at Shi Yang without blinking, and his face filled with fear. Finally, he could confirm the intimidation of the war devil. With the very first moves, he could brutally kill Sichu Jie, Zhu Yufeng, and Zhongli Dun. Such formidable power could be compared to Enyu Lang, a third sky of spirit realm warrior. Yin Hui himself didn't dare to provoke this sharp spear, and he also didn't have the intention to poke his nose in this bloody business. He then started to consider the relationship between the Silver Shark clan and the Yang family. Although the power Shi Yang had used this time didn't belong to his body, it was enough to terrify Yin Hui. The war devil's performance made him recognize that in the endless sea, only Cao Qiu Dao and Yang Yi Tian could survive safe and sound at the hands of the war devil. Besides them, none of the warriors in the endless sea could tower this dazzling halo. Shi Yang. Yin Hui was a little bit hesitant, his voice dry. He beamed a forced smile and said, "Does this black iron puppet come from the lofty dragon graveyard? How could you bring this terrifying thing out of the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard?" "Yeah, I know it's personal, but the antiquity lofty graveyard belongs to the sea tribes anyway. It's our forbidden area, and you're human. How could you do that?" "Destiny." Shi Yang curled his lips. He lifted his head to watch the sea surface, then frowned. Yin Hui was standing in front of him, also surprised. "Someone's coming." The seawater surrounding was flowing rapidly. Waves undersea were surging like someone was surfing the wave to get here. His speed was so fast the seawater could barely bear his force. It started to rise, causing a great change. A majestic figure suddenly appeared next to Yin Hui. Enyu Lang, the patriarch of the Black Flood Dragon clan. He had utilized his third sky of spirit realm cultivation base to get here with maximum speed. It took him only several minutes to arrive at the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard. Enyu Lang's visage was dark. He frowned while observing the situation, then shifted his eyes to the war devil with a strange look. Half a minute later, Enyu Lang took a deep breath, then turned to Yin Hui. "Some spirit realm warriors got killed here, right?" He glared at the black iron puppet. "You got it," Yin Hui answered with a serious countenance. He nodded. "It's because of that black iron puppet. He's brought it out from the antiquity lofty dragon graveyard." Enyu Lang's majestic body was shaken. Divine light shot out from his eyes as he was scrutinizing Shi Yang. Shi Yang smiled, bent down to greet him, then said with manners, "Greeting, Precursor Nu Lang. Haha, I didn't expect we would meet up again that fast. The Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard has always been the forbidden place on the ocean floor. Thousands of years have been passed, and countless strong warriors had buried themselves in there. No one was lucky enough to come back alive. Nu Lang's eyes shone with radiant light. Why could you survive that place and even brought out with you such an intimidating black iron puppet? Good fortune. Shi Yang's visage was serious. The Antiquity Lofty Dragon and I had some relationship in the ancient times. It's destined that I could enter that dark place. This black iron puppet belongs to the Antiquity. Why I can have it now is all about my fate. Nu Lang was surprised. Yin Hui just shook his head while beaming a forced smile. He both admired and envied Shi Yang. Nu Lang mused for a while, then sighed. Is it real destiny? The Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard has buried many of my ancestors, but now its mysteries cracked by a human. Perhaps, you little fella have some connection with our sea tribes, eh? Shi Yang was amazed. He had never thought about this. He was hesitant, then shook his head. I'm not sure. Anyway, this Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard does have a connection with the ancient existence. I can't tell the details. I can only say that my fortune isn't bad. Nu Lang and Yin Hui frowned, seriously considering the hidden meaning in his words. Later, Nu Lang faced up to check the sky as his eyes squinted to align. Seems like I am not the only one who recognized the strange event here. It's unexpected that the great two warriors of the Vault of Heaven Sea area are coming, too. The seawater was split apart as two figures descended one after another from above. The Queen of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, Qing Ming, Jiyu Xiao, Pan Zhe, and Cao Ji Lan, who had fled away in fear, appeared behind them. However, they didn't dare to move forward, just staying behind the other two to observe the situation. Yang Yi Tian, Xia Qing Hu. Yin Hui took a look and got shocked, exclaiming. Shi Yang's eyes brightened as he hurriedly looked up. A naturally handsome, elegant, middle-aged man was plunging down quietly, wearing a purple gown accompanied with a feathered crest. His face held a tender smile. Hall Master of the Martial Spirit Palace, Yang Yi Tian, an overlord of a part of the Endless Sea. An old man wearing hemp garments and straw sandals followed him. That man was old and wrinkled, but he had a distant, deep green, old aura. He was the former master of the Xia family, Xia Qing Hu. The two most outstanding warriors of the Vault of Heaven Sea area appeared from the sea surface. After they arrived, they all looked at Nu Lang with surprised eyes. Seemed like they'd assumed that Nu Lang was the one who had initiated all these things. It wasn't me. Nu Lang was calm as he snorted, then shifted his line of sight to Shi Yang. Yang Yi Tian's and Xia Qing whose pupils shrank. They then eyed Shi Yang with surprised and disbelieving countenances. Yang Yi Tian had gawked for a while, then ceased the smile on his face. He closed his eyes to sense something, then shouted all of a sudden. Who killed Sichu Jie and Zhong Li Dun? Me. Shi Yang bent his body slightly, smiled and clasped his hands. Shi Yang, a junior, greeting Precursor Yang. He paused for a while, then continued his smile, looking at Xia Qing Hu. His manner was more sincere. We meet here, great-grandfather Xia. The senile face of Xia Qing Hu cracked a smile. His attitude was tender. He walked towards Shi Yang, his eyes shining. You are Shi Yang? Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Xia Qing Hu said good 3 times consecutively. Then, he appeared next to Shi Yang, standing opposite Yang Yi Tian. The Xia family and the Yang family always had a good relation. Xia Qing Hu and Yang Tian Emperor were close friends for 100 years. He also knew about Shi Yang and Xia Xinyang's relationship from the juniors of the Xia family. After he had recovered, he always paid attention to Shi Yang, as he knew well what Shi Yang'd done during these years in the Endless Sea. In his eyes, Shi Yang was a family member, Xia Xinyang's fiancé. Even the reason why he could recover that fast was related to Shi Yang. Of course, he and Shi Yang stood in the same boat. Hall Master Yang, Xia Qing Hu smiled, his face contemplating. Seems like you guys had sent someone to kill Shi Yang, but you didn't have good fortune. Yeah, first, I'd like to express my opinion. No matter what, I'm on the same side as Shi Yang. If you want to deal with him, I will definitely not just stand and stare. Precursor Yang, Shi Yang curled his lips. Forgive my childish, arrogant words, but if you want to kill me, it should be a little bit difficult here. Then, his thought flickered, sending his message to the War Devil. The War Devil was still hiding its aura. After receiving Shi Yang's thought, it started to stroll towards Yang Yitian. A murderous, earth-destroying aura like the immense water of the endless sea gushed out from the War Devil, instantly covering the whole territory of the Silver Shark clan. Yang Yitian's face changed dramatically. Enyu Lang frowned. Xia Qing, whose eyes brightened. The three real heroes of the land and the undersea had different facial expressions. I still don't understand why you guys are still fighting against each other, even though we're all warriors of the endless sea. Shi Yang's face darkened. When I was in Yuan Luo Sea area, the demon dwellers had struggled to kill me, which I can understand. But why do you guys want to destroy me? It has repeated many times. Their attitude is like they can't live well if they can't eradicate me. Precursor Yang, could you elaborate the reasons? The ones who want to kill you include Jiyu Xiao, Dongfang Zhu, and Qing Ming. Yang Yitian snorted coldly. I'm just watching. Although you seem to have unpredictable potential, I didn't put you in my eyes. But now, it's different. You'd killed Sichu Jie and Zhong Li Dun. Even if I'm an easy person, I can't spare your life. Then, a divine light flashed in Yang Yitian's eyes. Electric currents were weaving inside that divine light as they rapidly shot toward Shi Yang. Seven-colored nirvana light. Xia Qing, who shouted, then said coldly, Yang Yitian, you dare? Chapter 473, Imposing. Chapter 473, Imposing. Rumors said that Cao Qiu Dao, Yang Yitian and Yang Tian Emperor had fallen into a space crack when they were young. There, they found the corpse of a god king. Cao Qiu Dao and Yang Tian Emperor had the essence blood of the god king, while Yang Yitian had a beam of the god king's divine soul. The dead body of a god king had helped create the three peerless warriors of the endless sea. Cao Qiu Dao and Yang Yitian had had their competencies thrived massively, as they had the ability to provoke opponents who had higher realms than them. Yang Yitian entered the second sky of spirit realm, and he also had fantastic advances in knowing several intimidating soul techniques. The seven-colored nirvana light was one of the scary soul techniques that he had learned. This soul technique could perish someone's soul. Once it jumped into the other's sea of consciousness, it could easily find the host soul and use the nirvana light to destroy it. Yang Yitian had depended on the seven-colored nirvana light to swagger in endless sea. So many warriors had their souls scattered because of this seven-colored nirvana light. It was the signature skill of Yang Yitian. As Xia Qing, who saw the light shoot out from the other's eye, he immediately got what the other wanted to do, projecting divine light from his eyes. Marvelous light beams, one blue and one purple, turned into two electric dragons tangling and wiggling with each other. They then spurted out two purple and blue light balls that vehemently shot towards the seven-colored nirvana light. In the seawater, the seven-colored light and the blue-purple dragons attacked each other, but no impact was generated. However, the faces of Yang Yitian and Xia Qing who changed frequently. Strange light flashed unceasingly in their pupils, just like meteors showering inside their eyes. Xia Qing who used to enter the dark magnetic noxious mist. In the bog that Shi Yang found the king of demonic insects, he got the last crystal-clear god soul bead. After years of living in isolation to perceive the subtle mysteries in the bead, he had broken through the second sky of spirit realm, and also obtained some bizarre and unpredictable soul techniques. It could be said that both Yang Yitian and Xia Qing who had a good grasp of soul techniques. They were both at the second sky of spirit realm, and both borrowed external force and fortuitous encounters. Because of Shi Yang, the two of them, who were like water in the well and river which never met, started to join the competition on soul techniques. Enyu Lang and Yin Hui, the two patriarchs of the sea tribes, were watching the two peak warriors of the endless sea using soul technique to fight against each other. They showed their interest with an attentive look on their faces. The two soul techniques were cast out, but they didn't shake anything as expected. The seawater was still calm. Even Yang Yi-Tian and Xia Qing who kept a calm complexion. However, deep inside their pupils, a bursting light was blooming, which shook people's hearts, dragging their souls in it. It seemed even to attract people's host souls, making it want to get out of the sea of consciousness. Only if they released their soul consciousness and attached it onto the fight could they know how miraculous this soul fight was. Otherwise, they would never know the subtle details of it. All of a sudden, light ceased in Yang Yi-Tian's and Xia Qing whose eyes. The divine light was retrieved. Xia Qing who let out a slight cough, and his face slightly changed. It seemed like he bore the disadvantage this time. He snorted, "Hall Master Yang, you're an overlord of an area. Even so, you used soul technique to attack Shi Yang without any prior warning. This deed doesn't seem good. An eye for an eye. It's right and unalterable." Yang Yi-Tian's brows slammed together. Sichu Jie was the #1 consecrator of our martial spirit palace. He had contributed much to the martial spirit palace. He got killed, so of course, I have to obtain justice for him. Zhongli Dun was the one we were nurturing for our future, and Shi Yang killed him too. If you were me, would you let it go? Well, although you guys want to kill him, do you think he would just hand over his neck like that? Xia Qing who sneered, looking at the group of Qing Ming and Jiu Xiao, speaking up with disdain. What a pity. 6 spirit realm warriors took action, but 2 of them got killed while the others had to run for their lives. Haven't you lost your face? Nu Lang and Yin Hui were watching the situation with joy. Precursor Yang, do you really think that you could kill me instantly using soul technique? At this moment, Shi Yang suddenly curled his lips, shook his head and said coldly, "When I was in Barren City, Bao Wen did the same." Then, his soul consciousness was burned to ash. In front of the Silver Stone Fort, Sichu Jie and Zhu Yanfeng did the same. I think Precursor Yin Hui knows their results. Yang Yi-Tian's face darkened, and couldn't help but look at Yin Hui. Nu Lang and Xia Qing who were surprised, also looking at him. I was staying in the dark to observe the battle in Barren City. And, I didn't miss any small details of the battle in front of the Silver Stone Fort. Under the attentive looks of the 3 great warriors, Yin Hui wore a solemn face and nodded affirmatively. Forgive my frankness, but any soul technique or soul consciousness that jumps into Shi Yang's sea of consciousness would disappear into thin air. Hall Master Yang, if you want to do that, haha, I think you will have to face the same consequence. Yang Yi-Tian's eyes flared up with cold light. Were Bao Wen and Sichu Jie's levels able to be compared with mine? It wasn't that he didn't believe, but he had his arrogance. In such a vast sea like the Endless Sea, if one talked about the biggest achievement in understanding the souls, no doubt that it belonged to Yang Yi-Tian. He was the best in Endless Sea, and everybody acknowledged him. Bao Wen, Sichu Jie, and Zhu Yanfeng were far behind compared to him. He believed in his cultivation base and his deep understanding of soul. Once he used his soul technique, whatever tricks Shi Yang had, he could hardly avoid death. If you don't believe me, just try. Shi Yang laughed, shaking his head. Anyway, if Precursor Yang's soul consciousness gets hurt, don't blame me that I didn't give you a warning beforehand. Arrogant. Yang Yi-Tian shouted. Don't. Xia Qing who hurriedly stopped them. It's okay. Shi Yang smiled to comfort them. Great-Grandpa Xia, don't worry. I have my plan. Haha, I do want to see if his soul technique could destroy the power of the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame or not. The 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame. Yang Yi-Tian, Nu Lang, Xia Qing Hu and Yin Hui discolored on hearing that. Their eyes shot out a panic-stricken light. Yeah, it's the heaven flame that can burn all kinds of soul, the 9 Serenities' devouring soul flame. Shi Yang curled his lips. Precursor Yang, do you want to try? Yang Yi-Tian discolored, standing dumbfounded without the intention to act recklessly. It was the name of the heaven flame which had been famous for thousands of years in the entire Endless Sea, even though each heaven flame had their own unpredictable miracle effects. The ice-cold flame was extremely cold. The purgatory true flame came from the purgatory, which was the best fiery flame to forge weapons. The vanishing corpse flame could control corpses and could even turn living humans into corpse slaves. The Nine Serenities' devouring soul flame was the fiery flame that could destroy souls. It could burn down souls of all kinds of creatures, and even divine sense or thoughts. Many legends about the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring flame had soon been spread out all over the endless sea. This flame appeared in numerous rumors, but no one ever heard that it had a master. Due to its particularity, no warrior dared to let it stay inside his host soul in the sea of consciousness. The heaven flame that could burn down the soul consciousness of the host soul, how could someone get it integrated into his soul? But Shi Yang had claimed that he kept the Nine Serenities' devouring soul flame in his sea of consciousness. Was it true? In legends, no one had ever broken the barrier. Did he really have such an eccentric change? Yang Yi-Tian didn't believe it, neither do Xia Qinghu. But Enyu Lang and Yin Hui believed him. Thousands of years had passed, and everyone who entered the lofty dragon graveyard had to die. But he came back alive. Moreover, he brought out with him a terrifying black iron puppet. If he could break one legend, it wouldn't be a surprise if he could break another one. Enyu Lang and Yin Hui exchanged looks. Their faces were bizarre. Well, if you don't believe it, you can try. Shi Yang didn't exaggerate, just smiled. Currently, the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers are raging in the endless sea. I just don't want Precursor Yang get his soul hurt because of me. Honestly, I don't like Precursor Yang, but I know that keeping you safe is better for the whole picture of the endless sea. So, I want to remind you, don't take risks. Yang Yi-Tian's face darkened, but people couldn't see anything from his complexion. You can't kill me directly using soul technique. And, with this black puppet here, you can't kill me physically. What is the use for to linger here? Shi Yang pitched his voice, smiled and said calmly, the endless sea's really busy, you know? Yeah, forgive me if I can't see you off. I think we will meet again soon. At that time, I hope that Precursor Yang would be well prepared. Lifting his head, Shi Yang screamed again. Oh yeah, I killed Zhu Yanfeng, too. He's the cow's man. Perhaps you would want to visit Cao Qiu Dao too. Then, he squinted his eyes, looking at Cao Ji-lan on the sea surface, talking to her with a cold voice. Miss Cao, take care. Cao Ji-lan felt cold as if his cold voice had absorbed into her body and stiffened it. Shi Yang's performance had torn off all of her defenses. At this moment, she only felt helpless. She thought that they could kill Shi Yang instantly, but he had brought with him a terrifying black puppet from the lofty dragon graveyard. And now, he didn't show fear even on facing the peak warriors of the endless sea. Shi Yang's performance gave her an untrue feeling. She suddenly had a feeling that she had missed the chance which she would regret for the rest of her life. I hope that you could stay that complacent for a long time. Yang Yi-Tian restored his original calm countenance. He nodded at Shi Yang, it's true. You can see the endless sea's situation now. For the time being, I won't interfere in your business. I think your existence could be one of our advantages too. Shi Yang frowned. The Kiara Sea is in the hands of the Dark Dwellers. I think it's time for the Yang family to think about how to take back your territory. Yang Yi-Tian squinted his eyes. I'm waiting for your good news. Then, he glared at Shi Yang one last time before flying up to the sea surface, gathering with Ji Yuxiao's group. Soon, those people disappeared from the seabed. On the seabed, only Shi Yang, Yin Hui, Enyu Lang and Xia Qing who were left outside the lofty dragon graveyard. Chapter 474, Boldness. Chapter 474, Boldness. Enyu Lang, Xia Qinghu, and Yin Hui were dumbstruck, eyeing Shi Yang and the war devil. All of a sudden, their minds were filled with strange emotions. Shi Yang's growing speed was too amazing. No warrior in the endless sea could be like him, thriving to his current powerful realm in such a short time. A young Sky Realm warrior with extraordinary backup went beyond their imagination. At his Sky Realm, he could borrow external forces to compete against the Spirit Realm warriors. And now, he had brought with him a war devil from the lofty dragon graveyard. The power of a war devil could be compared to a third sky of Spirit Realm warrior. Besides, he had the ice-cold flame, the earth flame, the Nine Serenities soul-devouring flame, the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm. Any of these on a typical warrior was enough to surprise people. But he had them all. Shi Yang, where is Xin Yang? Xia Qing, who mused for a while, and couldn't help but admire Shi Yang in his heart. But still, he asked the matter he worried about the most. Shi Yang's calm face changed when he heard the question. What happened? Xia Qing, who raised his eyebrow. She didn't come with you? I heard that she had visited the dark magnetic noxious mist, too. Didn't you say that you've come back from there? Did you meet her? People from the Pure Land took her to the divine Great Land. Shi Yang calmly told them what Yi Changfeng told him. Pure Land. Xia Qing, whose face was cold as cold halo radiated from his eyes. They want to revive Xin Yang's soul of the previous life. This means death to her. I'm not gonna allow it. The Pure Land's much stronger than the Endless Sea, Shi Yang sighed. As far as I've known, there are true God Realm warriors among the 7 old factions in the divine Great Land. I have to admit that the Endless Sea's forces are one level lower than the divine Great Lands. Although Yin Hui and Enyu Lang were dwelling on the seabed under the Endless Sea, they knew something about the divine Great Land. Hearing Shi Yang talking about the place, they all showed interest and listened to him seriously. Shi Yang didn't conceal anything, frowned and said, Great-Grandpa Xia, don't worry too much about Xin Yang. We always have solutions. Xin Yang will be okay for the time being. After we're done with the stuff in Endless Sea, I'll go to the divine Great Land and bring her back from the Pure Land. According to you, the Pure Land's one of the 7 ancient factions of the divine Great Land, and they have true God Realm warriors. Do you really have any solution? Xia Qing, who wore a worried face, shaking his head. If we want her back, I have to go there. With only you, I'm afraid it would be difficult to make them nod their heads. I have my means. What? Shi Yang took a deep breath, looking at Xia Qing, who then said, Great-Grandpa Xia, in the exotic land of the dark magnetic noxious mist, you got a crystal clear bead of God's soul. I wonder if you've ever heard about the life original fluid? Xia Qing, who was surprised. Yin Hui and Enyu Lang had their eyes brightened at the same time. I heard that the life original fluid's there, Xia Qing, who nodded. Seems like it's because of the life original fluid that the boy Yi Chengfeng gave me the vein spirit pellet. Anyway, when I was there, I didn't see such a miraculous thing. Why you mention it? I have it. Xia Qing, who and the others were shaken. Their eyes brightened. I really have it here. Shi Yang smiled, looking at Yin Hui with guilt in his eyes. I hid the truth from you because I wasn't sure I could keep the life original fluid. Cough. Don't say that I'm too cautious. You and Enyu Lang are both peak warriors, and the life original fluid appears to be a big deal. I'm afraid you guys. Yin Hui forced a smile and nodded, I understand. Enyu Lang's eyes were shining, eyeing him without blinking. You really have it? Yes. Enyu Lang was so joyful he almost went crazy. Among the others, only he had broken through to the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm, just one step away from the true God Realm. At this moment, the only thing he needed was a drop of the life original fluid, which would enhance his guts entering the true God Realm. It wasn't necessary to discuss the significance of the life original fluid to him. Once he entered the true God Realm, Enyu Lang would become the legend of thousands of years on the seabed. His future wouldn't be limited in the seabed of the Endless Sea, and his world would change accordingly. The true God Realm was the realm of the genuine gods. The Spirit Realm was just the false gods' realm. They were definitely different, and the gap between them was hard to cross. Once he could pass over it, he would become God. But if he couldn't, he would just be a false god. Enyu Lang's desire for the life original fluid was much bigger than that of having an area in the Endless Sea. Why did you decide to disclose it now? Yin Hui also had an excited face. Shi Yang, tell us what you want to exchange for the life original fluid. Do you really have it? Xia Qing, who was also stirred up. He was at the 2nd sky of Spirit Realm, and soon, he would reach Enyu Lang's realm. With a drop of the life original fluid, he would have a more substantial chance to enter the true God Realm. Thinking about this temptation, he couldn't hold it. The Spirit Realm warriors often would have lived for more than 100 years. Usually, they shouldn't be stirred up that easy. However, the life original fluid was a kind of treasure they had been yearning for so long. This made these old men unable to control their emotions. There's a reason for me to say so, Shi Yang smiled. Great-Grandpa Xia, with one drop of the life original fluid, I think it isn't hard to ask the people of the Pure Land to give back our people. Xia Qing who nodded, the Pure Land's one of the 7 ancient factions of the divine Great Land. Of course, they should have some warriors at the third sky of Spirit Realm. I think they know how precious a drop of the life original fluid is. Thus, don't worry. I said I would have plans to bring Xin Yang out of the Pure Land. Shi Yang comforted the old man. Wait until we're done with the stuff in Endless Sea, I'll visit the divine Great Land. Just wait and see, I have my own means. Good boy. Xia Qing who smiled with shining eyes. He nodded. Yang Tian Emperor does have good fortune. As for you guys. He wanted to say something to Enyu Lang and Yin Hui, but he didn't finish it. Say it, Enyu Lang was trying to press down his excitement and spoke up casually. As long as it doesn't require me to betray the sea tribes, anything can be negotiated. Of course I don't dare to force you to damage yourself or your reputation. Shi Yang was happy, but he was talking with solemn face. The Kiara Sea belongs to us. I want to take it back. Enyu Lang relaxed his face. Yin Hui was bewildered for a while, then said, if it's the only request, no problem with our Silver Shark clan. Members of the Yang family are still in the demon area. My great-grandpa's doing well there. Perhaps, he's seizing the chance to invade the demon area. For the time being, he won't be back in the Endless Sea. What? Enyu Lang, Yin Hui, and Xia Qing who stammered in fear. The news about Yang Tian Emperor had been confined in demon area had soon spread over the Endless Sea, but the news of his escape was totally hidden. That's why some members of the sea tribes dared to plan their wild schemes on Barren City. If they had known that Yang Tian Emperor had escaped from the Demon King's confinement, they would have never conspired against Barren City. As they heard the earth-shaking news from Shi Yang, Enyu Lang, Yin Hui, and even Xia Qing who were frightened. I'm sure this is real. Shi Yang smiled, don't be startled. I think my great-grandpa has something he's arranged for the demon area. Currently, I can't borrow the force from the Yangs much. Anyway, with the help from the Black Flood Dragon clan and the Silver Shark clan, plus great-grandpa Xia. And yeah, perhaps I can also contact the Three Gods sect. With this combined force, I think it won't be tough to take back the Kiara Sea. Enyu Lang and Yin Hui were surprised. Xia Qing who shouted with low tone. You also have a connection with the Three Gods sect? Yeah, my relation with Tang Yuan Nam isn't bad. Also, I have some old origins shared with Ouyang Luo Shuang, Shi Yang nodded. With these relationships and the life original fluid, I think it shouldn't be hard to ask for using people of the Three Gods sect. Moreover, taking back the Kiara Sea also gives the Three Gods sect a position here. And, in the future, I would pay back the favor by helping them deal with the demon dwellers in Yuan Luo Sea. Kid, not bad, Xia Qing who nodded continually. I won't ask you to do things for free, Shi Yang mused for a while, then his face stiffened. The dark water territories are fertile land. If you sea tribes help us, after the Endless Sea is secured and the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers are killed, besides 2 drops of the life original fluid, I will offer you the dark water territory. Enyu Lang and Yin Hui had their eyes brightened. Xia Qing whose face slightly changed as he frowned. Shi Yang. The dark water territory belongs to the Holy God sect, the Spirit Treasure Wonderland and the Heaven Lake Holy Land. These 3 forces have been battling against me. Yeah, they are weak though. In my eyes, they can't keep the dark water territory in the future. Shi Yang's face was dark and cold. They are unkind to me, so I won't be polite either. In the future, of course, the Endless Sea would have a great change. I can see the dark water become the sea tribe's territory. What do you think? He looked at Enyu Lang and Yin Hui. Aren't you afraid that thousands of people would insult you? Enyu Lang knitted his brows. Although some people from your human race have been cooperating with our sea tribes, until now, they don't allow us to get to the surface of the sea area. Thousands of years have passed by, and you guys have never allowed us to visit the blue ocean. If you do so, Aren't you afraid that the warriors of the Endless Sea would unite and protest against you? They would say that you have united with alien tribes to deal with your own kind. Aren't you afraid of them? I think the ones who could scold me should have already visited hell by that time, Shi Yang smirked. Nu Lang, Yin Hui, and Xia Qing who gave him a deep look as they all sighed inside. This kid was vicious enough. Chapter 475, Final Decision. Chapter 475, Final Decision. Great-Grandpa Xia, you should be more open-minded. Shi Yang hesitated, then smiled. If the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers bury themselves in Endless Sea, the Demon Area and the Underworld would become the places where no one lives. Ha ha. Losing the Dark Water territory but earning the Demon Area and the Underworld, you tell me, aren't there a little bit profits here? Xia Qing who was shaken, as a strange light shot out from his eyes. Kid, you're young, but you do have strong wild schemes. Cruel and merciless, such a character. Nu Lang took a deep breath. Your appetite's bigger than Cao Qiu Dao's and Yang Yi Tian's. I didn't expect that you have dreamed about the Demon Area and the Underworld too. Sigh, it's unbelievable that the Yang family has another freak like you besides Yang Tian Emperor. Although you sea tribes can leave the sea surface, it should be a bit difficult if you leave Endless Sea for a long time. Shi Yang smiled, his face deliberate. You shouldn't consider the Demon Area and the Underworld. These places aren't suitable for your sea tribes to live. The seawater there is also different from the Grace mainland. Well, you're sure that our sea tribes can't earn a living in the Demon Area and the Underworld, that's why you offer so. Yin Hui snorted with irritation. It's true, Shi Yang didn't deny. Nu Lang and Yin Hui fell into silence. Shi Yang wasn't hurried, smiled and waited for them calmly. I would agree with your conditions and help you take back the Kiara Sea. However, I want to see the life original fluid first. Nu Lang mused, wanting to confirm the fact that Shi Yang had the life original fluid. Yin Hui also showed his longing face. No problem, Shi Yang was frank and straightforward. He contacted the king of demonic insects in the blood vein ring, sending his thought. After the king of demonic insects got a drop of immortal blood from him, their relationship had become more harmonious. Having heard his call, it came out from the blood vein ring, opened its mouth and spurt out a crystal lotus throne. A bottle stood amid the crystal lotus throne, holding some sort of white liquid. Heartbeats reverberated clear and loud from this white substance. This bottle wasn't big, and Shi Yang took the chance to glare at it. He found that the bottle kept around 10 drops of life original fluid. Each drop had the heart shape with robust heartbeats sounding out. They were all radiating a milky white halo, which made them look like a strong, micro-heart. Extremely marvelous. Divine light sparkled in Nu Lang's, Yin Hui's, and Xia Qing whose eyes as they were eyeing the bottle on the crystal lotus throne. As the three of them had spirit realm cultivation base, they had unique recognition of strange things. At first glance, they knew how miraculous the liquid inside the bottle was. Not bad. The rumors true. Xia Qing who affirmed first, his face surprised and happy. Each drop of the life original fluid seems to have its own vitality. I can hear the vigorous heartbeats. From its look, I can tell it's the life original fluid. Yin Hui nodded continually. As you've said, it's the life original fluid. Shi Yang sent his thought again. The king of demonic insects opened its mouth, swallowed the crystal lotus throne and disappeared into the blood vein ring. Shi Yang then looked at Nu Lang, smiled and asked, Precursor Nu Lang, do you have further doubts? All right, Nu Lang spoke up with a serious face. I'm going back to the Black Flood Dragon clan and arrange things. As for the details, we need to talk and act together, okay? You can contact my big uncle Yang Zhuo. I'll go to the sea surface and contact people from the Three Gods sect. Shi Yang smiled, don't worry. I'll have a sufficient force to annihilate the Dark Dwellers in a flash. Right, I'll arrange the business of my clan and then find Yang Zhuo, nodded Nu Lang. Yin Hui said the same. However, he was a little bit hesitant. If the Water Scorpion tribe and the Naga tribe also want to join us, how about this life original fluid? Shi Yang shook his head. I didn't count them in this. Yin Hui frowned. I don't want to waste it, Shi Yang considered. On the seabed, the Black Flood Dragon clan and the Silver Shark clan are the strongest tribes, much stronger than the Water Scorpion tribe and the Naga tribe. With your help, the Xia family and the Three Gods sect, together with me and this Black Iron puppet, taking the Kiara Sea isn't a big deal. We don't need more people. How about the Dark Water territory? Probed Yin Hui. Wait until we finish the Kiara Sea's matter, then I will see if your sea tribes have good wills. Shi Yang was serious. If you guys want the Dark Water territory, we will need forces in the future. Yeah, the demon dwellers are in the Endless Sea, too. It would be a conflict at that time. If you want to claim good things, you should think about the next steps. Nu Lang's and Yin Hui's eyes sparkled, their faces complicated. A while after that, Nu Lang nodded but didn't discuss anything else. He regarded Yin Hui, then they left together. Shi Yang, your ambitious heart isn't small, Xia Qing who exclaimed after Nu Lang and Yin Hui had left. In fact, I have no ambition, Shi Yang burst out laughing. I just don't want to leave the ones who want to deal with me live with ease. No matter it's the Endless Sea, the demon area or the underworld, I don't have the desire to take them. However, the Yang family has treated me well. I have plenty free time at this moment, so I should do something to repay their favors. I heard that you came from the Quiet Cloud. Yes, Shi Yang's eyes glittered, then slowly nodded. The reason why he wanted to stir the rain and the wind in Endless Sea was for the Yangs on one hand, and on the other hand, because of the guilt towards Shi Jian and the others in the Quiet Cloud. Since he had descended in the Grace mainland, the Shi family had considered him their successor. No matter it was Shi Jian, Shi Tai, or Shi Dang, they all took care of him, trusted him and treated him like a member of their family. The Shi family dwelled in the Merchant Union. The warriors there were normal, and the aura of the earth and firmament wasn't as good as the Endless Sea. They didn't even have a spirit realm warrior. After he had seen the wealth of the Endless Sea and the peak prosperous time of the Divine Great Land, he had determined that he should come up with the plan to bring the Shi family out of the Merchant Union of the Quiet Cloud and get them to the Endless Sea, or even the Divine Great Land. He should find the best place for their cultivation. Only if the Endless Sea regained its peace and the Yang family held the absolute overlord position in Endless Sea, the Shi family could have no worries and move there from the Merchant Union. At that time, he could ease his mind and enter the Divine Great Land to learn the peak knowledge from the true warriors of the Grace mainland. Great-Grandpa Xia, do you want to visit Barren City? Oh, no, Xia Qing who contemplated for a while then showed his worries. I've just turned my back on Yang Yitian. I'm afraid he would do something behind my back. I have to go back to control the situation. When you have everything planned, send someone to notify me. I'll know how to cooperate with you. The reincarnation island of the Xia families also in the Kiara Sea. I want to take it back soon. Alright, I'm going back to Barren City and talk to my big uncle. Keep in touch. Okay. Shi Yang bid farewell to the old man on the seabed. He then walked with his black iron puppet, leaving the graveyard and heading to Barren City. 7 days later, he got to Barren City, returning to the Yang family in the city. Since Yang Zhuo and the others knew that he would be going to the Antiquity Lofty Dragon graveyard, they couldn't help but worry about him. Now, as they saw him coming back, everybody was happy and surprised, chirping around him to ask about his experience of this trip. Shi Yang just smiled and didn't say anything. He waited until they finished and started. I'm okay, I got a war devil there, he pointed to the black iron puppet. War devil. Yang Zhuo and Zhong Mu frowned, looking at the black iron puppet. Really dangerous, eh? Yang Zhuo couldn't hold but ask. Shi Yang confirmed with a nod, really dangerous. How dangerous is it? Li Feng raised her brows, giggling. He killed Sichu Jie, Zhu Yufeng, and Zhong Li Dun. Everybody was shaken, extremely frightened. No kidding. Yang Mu was panic-stricken. Shaking his head, Shi Yang smiled. No kidding. He paused for a while, then explained. If this war devil urges all of his strength, he would be able to confront Nu Lang directly. Won't be defeated, I guess. Everybody was dumbfounded on hearing him. On the seabed, Nu Lang was an invincible existence. Every single member of the sea tribes or human race knew how tremendous Nu Lang's power was. He was the best warrior who was acknowledged by everyone. And now, Shi Yang said that this black iron puppet had the ability to confront Nu Lang directly. Everybody thought he was crazy. Nu Lang and Yin Hui agreed to join hands with us and help us take back the Kiara Sea. Shi Yang threw them another bomb. Yang Zhuo and the other members of the Yang family all wore an extremely awkward face, gazing at him like they were looking at a monster. "I'm not joking with you guys," Shi Yang said seriously, but Yang Zhuo and the others kept their dumbstruck complexion. Well, it happened like this. From their appearance, Shi Yang knew they couldn't accept the event. He had no choice but wear a forced smile and tell them in detail. After he had finished, Yang Zhuo and the others gradually restored themselves, believing in his words. "We didn't expect that you could have the miraculous life original fluid from the dark magnetic noxious mist. Fella, you do have good fortune," Yang Mu exclaimed with an admiring face. No wonder why Nu Lang and the others were frank and straightforward. Seems, it's mainly because of the life original fluid. Yang Zhuo shot right at the critical detail. "Big uncle, you guys just stay on the seabed. The current situation will change soon. Don't worry." Shi Yang smiled. "I'm going back to the sea surface to find Tang Yuan Nam of the Three Gods sect. We have a good relationship. If he helps me now, we will repay his favor later. I think he won't deny me. With the forces from the Three Gods sect, the Black Flood Dragon clan, the Silver Shark clan, and the Xia family, we can easily get back to the Kiara Sea." The Yangs was roused. "Seems like you don't need your great-grandpa returning to Endless Sea to help us take back what belongs to us." Yang Zhuo smiled, patting Shi Yang's shoulder. "Bringing you here from the quiet cloud was our best decision. You're truly the lucky charm of our Yang family." Chapter 476, Strong Wind. Chapter 476, Strong Wind. The Dark Water Territory, Holy Water Island. This island was the sacred place of the Heaven Lake Holy Land. Legends said that the Holy Water Island had a heaven lake, which kept the holy water. Soaking a newborn in the Heaven Lake for a whole 49 days could help wash all the impurities in the body, enhance tendons and meridians, and completely change the baby. This would give an ordinary baby the innate talent which was pretty good for its cultivation later. The Holy Water Island was located on the sacred mountain of the Heaven Lake Holy Land. More than 10 warriors were sitting on the bench with a gloomy face. Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, Jiyu Xiao, the Emperor of Earth, Wu Qin, Qiu Zun, and the cult master of the Holy God sect, Ling Mai, were the ones leading the forces of Endless Sea. They gathered there, but their hearts seemed to be pressed by a huge stone, which was exceptionally heavy. "Is he really dangerous?" Keeping silent for a long while, Qiu Zun from the Spirit Treasure Wonderland sighed and asked Jiyu Xiao. Jiyu Xiao beamed a forced smile, shook his head and said begrudgingly, "He alone is dangerous already. But now it's not only that." From the Antiquity Lofty Dragon Graveyard, he brought out a tremendously intimidating black iron puppet. "Honestly, I still can't believe it. It's just a simple-looking black iron puppet, but it has a scary evil power." Zhuo Yufeng and Sichu Jie died in its hands, as soft as a block of tofu. They couldn't bear even a strike. Everybody sank into silence again after his words were uttered. Zhuo Yufeng and Sichu Jie were both famous warriors in Endless Sea with their spirit realm cultivation base, just like everybody else here. The black iron puppet had killed them easily, which meant that everybody else here would face a deadly consequence if they met Shi Yang. It's not long after. Wu Qin wore a bitter complexion then sighed. "We shouldn't mess with him. The trouble's blown up now. According to you, even Hall Master Yang couldn't control him. In this immense Endless Sea, who could subdue him then? I think if we use individual power, no one in Endless Sea can do anything to him." The Queen of Heaven Fan Xiong Yun was hesitant, and couldn't help but admit it begrudgingly. At present, Shi Yang was the biggest freak of the Endless Sea, and the word genius wasn't enough to describe him. Everybody sank into silence. Did Hall Master Yang say anything about this? The cult master of the holy god sect Ling Mai had short hair, each of it raising sparklingly. He looked young and handsome, with an evil, eccentric aura. However, he had the calmest look among them. Xia Qing, who protects him wholly. Nu Lang and Yin Hui were also there. That kid has the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame. As Hall Master Yang couldn't use his soul technique to kill him in an instant, nothing else was there that he could do. Jiyu Xiao explained. The others then sobered up. It seems that the most unpredictable factor of the future of the Endless Sea is this man. Ling Mai took a cold breath, mused for a long while before speaking up again. He's younger than anyone else. At such young age, he has the realm and the power that frightens people. I think we should be more careful. Jing Yang Qing sat neatly and listened to them without intervening. Through what Jiyu Xiao and the others had shared, although she hadn't witnessed the fight with her own eyes, she could imagine the deep impression Shi Yang had brought to them. That year, Shi Yang had stunned people by fighting against Mo Chi Ta. It was just 1 year, and now he dared to provoke Yang Yi Tian. How amazing a progress had he made? She didn't know why she felt refreshed and content seeing many overlords of the endless seaside in distress. She even had schadenfreude to a certain extent. The stronger Shi Yang progressed, the more excited she was. Any reactions from Cao Qiu Dao? Asked Wu Qin. Nothing up till now, the Queen of Heaven said after thinking. Xiao Lan hasn't got back to the Tutor Sea, perhaps. However, the Master of the Cow should have known the news by now. He can communicate with Hall Master Yang. I think that if anything arises, he will talk with Hall Master Yang first. Just wait for now. Zhuo Yufeng and Situ Jie were their men. With their nature, they wouldn't stay idle for long, Jiyu Xiao nodded. But the current situation of the Endless Sea isn't good. Wu Qin shook his head. The Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers are pressing closer. If we spend more workforce on Shi Yang, it would be strenuous to resist the invasion of the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers. If the Sea Tribes are willing to join us, every difficulty will be solved easily. Fan Xiongyun furrowed her brows. Too bad that Nu Lang and Yin Hui always keep their mouths shut. They haven't revealed any intention that they would cooperate with us. I think these two aren't friendly. If the Sea Tribes poke their noses in, the Endless Sea would have something interesting to watch. How about the Three Gods sect? Wu Qin glared at Jiyu Xiao. Stays secluded in their forbidden place in their sea, Jiyu Xiao snorted. Seems Tang Yuan Nan doesn't want to mobilize their force. They only want to secure the Three Gods sect's force. If it isn't the most crucial time, Ouyang Luoshong will never be willing to take action. She's ascetically cultivating in the forbidden place of the Three Gods sect. I think they hide the malicious intent behind their fair countenances. We shouldn't lay any hopes on them. The Three Gods sect appreciates Shi Yang. It's natural that they won't help us deal with Shi Yang this time. Wu Qin shook his head. If the Three Gods sect knows of Shi Yang's powers and joins hands with him, there will be a force that no one can deny in the Endless Sea. The Yang family, the Three Gods sect, and the Xia family had the 3 most prominent characters, Ouyang Luoshong, Shi Yang, and Xia Qin Hu. Those 3 had the power to battle against any peak warrior. Once they join hands, the Endless Sea would have a great transformation. Anyway, they hadn't counted the Sea Tribes. If they knew that Nu Lang and Yin Hui also had gotten into an agreement with Shi Yang, it was unknown how frightened they would be. Sigh. It would be best if Shi Yang went the same way as us. Wu Qin was quite distressed. Without that pursuit, perhaps Shi Yang wouldn't be that hostile toward us. With him, we don't need to bear such a headache. Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven, and the others suddenly discolored. It was because of them, who had persistently wanted to deal with Shi Yang, that everybody turned their back on him. After a series of actions, everybody got involved in it deeply. After 1 year, Shi Yang returned to the Endless Sea and showed his intimidating power that subdued everyone. This made them regret, but they couldn't do anything else. There's no pill for regret, Jiyu Xiao contemplated for a while. Wait and see, I think the Cow's Master and Hall Master Yang would have their arrangement soon. Everybody had no choice but to nod. Yuan Luo Si, in a marvelous place covered by a mysterious halo under the sea of the sun, moon, the Star Islands. A mesmerizing figure stood in the moonlight, taking a bath in a pond. Countless dots of moonlight essence gathered and glinted on her jade porcelain-like pure white body. She was standing in the pond like a fairy maiden with an ethereal aura of a holy being. She was the moon god, Ouyang Luo Shong. In the moonlight pond, she seemed to not bother with the annoying outer world, nor the raging waves of the endless sea. She was freely enjoying the moonlight entering her body, as she was taking each of her steps with caution on the way to the true goal of a warrior. The flame Chelene appeared from afar with its scorching flame. Tang Yuan Nan sat on his mount, controlling the speed to be not too rapid nor slow as he approached the moonlight pond. The beauty in the moonlit pond frowned. All of a sudden, the moonlight covered her body wholly. Just like the goddess of the Luo River, the beauty slowly flew up from the moonlight pond, her entire body covered in the hazy moonlight. She looked at the other with cold eyes. What's happened? Tang Yuan Nan wore a tender face, slightly bent over and smiled. I've got some interesting news. Haha, but I'm not sure if it is true or not. Ouyang Luo Shong arched her eyebrow, her eyes as beautiful and shining as the stars. She spoke up with clear and chill voice. What news? Shi Yang has returned to the endless sea. So what? I heard that he killed Zhuo Yufeng, Sichu Jie, and even Zhongli Dun on the seabed. Tang Yuan Nan curled his lips into a smile. Ouyang Luo Shong's pretty eyes sparkled with strange light. She was astonished for a while before speaking up again, not quite realistic. I think so. There's no smoke without fire, anyway. My news came from the sacred water island of the Dark Water Sea area. Tang Yuan Nam didn't hurry, and just casually explained. I heard that Jiyu Xiao, Qing Ming, and Wu Qin aren't good now. They are gathering because of Shi Yang. But they couldn't come up with a solution good enough. I even heard that after Shi Yang had killed Sichu Jie and Zhongli Dun, Yang Yitian had arrived, but then he came back with nothing. Even he couldn't do anything. Eventually, the beauty couldn't help but let out a slight sigh to show her surprise. He killed Sichu Jie and Zhongli Dun, but Yang Yitian had unexpectedly let him go. It seemed like Yang Yitian couldn't do anything to him, explained Tang Yuan Nan. Yang Yitian's the peak warrior of the endless sea. How could he do nothing to him? Apparently, Ouyang Luo Shong didn't buy it, shook her head and then burst out laughing. Your disappearance seemed to be a mistake. Even if that fella's strong, it's impossible for him to defeat Yang Yitian. Yeah, don't waste your mind on it. The news you got shouldn't be true, for the most part. I think it could be true. Tang Yuan Nan's face was serious. Can you guess who sent me the news? Who? The Holy Maiden of the Heaven Lake Holy Land? Huh? How could it be? I don't know either. I haven't had any connection with her before. She must have it done behind Wu Qin's back. I'm not sure. Is it a plan of the Dark Water Sea area, perhaps? Ouyang Luo Shong mused for a while then shook her head. It's not possible. They won't help that kid enhance his reputation like that. That's why I'm suspicious and puzzled. All of a sudden, at this moment, the teleportation formation at the center of the Three Gods sect's Holy Land glowed. Not long after that, a man appeared in the halo together with a black iron puppet. He then shouted, Precursor Tang, I'm Shi Yang. Can we talk? Tang Yuan Nam was shaken. Chapter 477, Exposing. Chapter 477, Exposing. While they were talking about Shi Yang, Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong were yet to figure out whether or not the rumors were true. But at this moment, the main character of the rumors appeared at the holy place or the Three Gods sect. This surprised both of them completely. Tang Yuan Nan used to bring Shi Yang here before. Thus, he wasn't surprised that Shi Yang could come here himself. Anyway, Shi Yang was recently calling wind and rising tides in Endless Sea. They didn't know if he had settled all the things there to come to this place. This puzzled the two of them. Just ask to verify the news provided by Jing Yang Qing. Ouyang Luo Shong held an indifferent countenance, frowned and sent her order to Tang Yuan Nan. Let him come here. He and I haven't met officially. Now, we can have a chance, finally. Tang Yuan Nan nodded cheerfully, laughing, we're here. Come over here. The Three Gods sect's sacred area wasn't vast. Since everybody had relatively high realms, they just needed to raise their voices to spread the sound all over the sacred place. The disciples of the Three Gods sect gathering here heard Shi Yang come, and couldn't help but change their expressions as they silently came closer. Recently, during this year, news related to Shi Yang were always noticed. He had fought against Mo Chi Ta, Qing Ming, the Queen of Heaven and the Emperor of Earth. Each of this series of events was enough to shake the entire Endless Sea. Many disciples of the Three Gods sect knew his relationship with the Gods sect and considered him the star god. As the god arrived, these disciples, of course, wanted to observe him. One man and one black iron puppet followed Tang Yuan Nan's guidance and calmly walked to the moonlight pond under the attentive looks of the other disciples of the Three Gods sect. Elders of the Three Gods sect couldn't hide their bright eyes, looking at him and the puppet behind him with surprise, whispering to each other. He had disappeared from the Endless Sea for 1 year. During this time, where did he go? Who knows? At present, the situation of the Endless Sea is so complicated. Not only the Dark Dwellers and the Demon Dwellers want to kill him, Jiyu Xiao and his men also consider him an eyesore and pain in the ass. Before he got strong enough, getting back to the Endless Sea isn't a wise move. Yeah, this kid has an endless potential. He could become the pillar of our Gods sect in the future. He just needs to go out and cultivate until he reaches the God realm. At that time, when he comes back to the Endless Sea, he can establish a footing without being afraid of the oppressors. Yeah, he came back a little bit earlier than expected. The disciples of the Three Gods sect held surprised faces, discussing quietly. Shi Yang smiled, slowly walking towards Tang Yuan Nan under the attention of the Three Gods sect's disciples. He was going to meet the moon god Ouyang Luo Shong officially. The sun, moon, and star gods of the Three Gods sect of this generation had finally met in the sacred land. The moon god had the moonlight meandering around her while the moonlight above enveloped her. Although the distance was close, Shi Yang couldn't see her appearance clearly. He could only feel the immortal, ethereal aura on her body, which gave people a vague but immense sense of aesthetic. Precursor Tang, he clasped his fists to greet Tang Yuan Nan, then shifted his look to Ouyang Luo Shong, hesitated for a while before speaking up embarrassedly, Precursor Ouyang Luo Shong. Ouyang Luo Shong had been sealed for thousands of years in the meteorite in the Sky Meteor City. Talking about age, she was at the monster level. However, during thousands of years in her confinement, she had constantly been taking in the essence of the moonlight, which separated her from the mortal world. She had been asleep all the time, so perhaps her mentality hadn't reached the vicissitude degree of her real age. Haha, we were just talking about you, Tang Yuan Nan was smiling. I think you didn't expect that we've received the news which said that you'd slaughtered Sichu Jie and Zhuo Yufeng on the seabed. Such interesting news. He observed Shi Yang's expression while talking. Beside him, some elders and disciples of the Three Gods sect were stunned on hearing Tang Yuan Nan's news and then forced a smile, shaking their heads. Apparently, these elders and disciples of the Three Gods sect didn't believe that the news was true. The moon god Ouyang Luo Shong was also shocked, looking at him and waiting for him to explain himself. It's true. In front of the attentive eyes of many people, Shi Yang deliberately smiled and nodded his head to confirm. Sichu Jie and Zhuo Yufeng are dead. It's true. But I didn't kill them. He pointed at the war devil behind him. He killed them. Ouyang Luo Shong, Tang Yuan Nan and the other elders of the Three Gods sect all showed that they were astounded, but didn't buy it. Shi Yang didn't say more details, just sending a thought to the war devil. Only the truth could be persuasive. Sometimes, words just wouldn't work. After he had sent his thought, the deep, dark pupils of Lao Luo's dark body shot out 2 bloodlights. Immediately, an evil, intimidating, earth-destroying aura spread out from him as the center, covering the whole sacred land of the Three Gods sect. Under this earth-destroying aura, all Three Gods sect's disciples felt their mind and soul both shaken just like a massive mountain was pressing on them. Except for Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong, everybody now felt a pressure that they couldn't even move or breath normally. Some warriors with low cultivation base trembled and fell. They were sweating while feeling all of the powers in their bodies get drained. They looked really distressed. The elders of the three gods sect paled as fear sparked in their eyes. Tang Yuan Nan opened his eyes wide, stunningly looking at the war devil. He contemplated for a long while before speaking up. This surging energy's so strong. I think even the demon kings and Kai Yang could only have this degree of powers. Half a minute later, Ouyang Luo Shong, who was covered wholly in the moonlight, nodded with surprise. Seems like the rumors are true. We don't know how this puppet was made, but its power's so terrifying. No wonder why Sichu Jie and Zhuo Yufeng got killed. Their deaths aren't unjust. Shi Yang curled the corners of his mouth into a smile, sending another thought to make the war devil retreat its subduing aura. The sinister aura and pressure were like a water tide rushing back to the sea, withdrawing into the war devil's body. Within the time of one breath, the terrifying pressure enveloping the whole sacred place of the three gods sect disappeared into thin air as if it had never been there. If there weren't someone with trembling legs and sweating, sitting on the ground, perhaps they would think that the previous pressure was just a hallucination. I want to have some words with Precursor Tang. Shi Yang's look raked around, signaling that there were so many people in the surroundings. Tang Yuan Nan held a serious face, swaying his hand. Do whatever you need to do. Do not linger here. Elders and disciples of the three gods sect paled on hearing Tang Yuan Nan's words. They eyed Shi Yang with fear and went away. Waiting until everyone went out of sight, Shi Yang started to present his ideas with a solemn face. At the same time, the divine swordland of Yuan Lo Si, which used to be the ancestral hall of the Jiyu family, was now the temporary palace of Demon King Kai Yang. The divine sword wasn't in the 10,000 sword peak anymore, but the divine qi there was still pretty dense, which pleased people physically and mentally. On the high summit, Demon King Kai Yang was sitting cross-legged. He was a member of the Black Scale clan, his body majestic with a black scale armor. He was sitting like a high mountain ridge, giving people a feeling that they could only lift their heads up to look at him. Since the corpse soul bridge had been thoroughly connected, he hadn't used the body of Xiao Han Yi. He was now in the endless sea with his own body. At this moment, Kai Yang suddenly opened his eyes, and his pupils sparked with strange beams of light. Such a powerful force. He muttered as his hands cast an odd seal formation. Numerous dots of light radiated from the seal, just like he was letting his soul consciousness run to Yuan Luo Si. Not long after that, 10 beams of brilliance shot out from his fingers, entering wholly into the seal formation. Inside the seal, a strange, sacred place on the seabed, which was covered with some barrier, appeared and then disappeared. Kai Yang's eyes brightened. He withdrew the seal formation and then frowned. It's the sacred place of the three gods sect. Seems like something strange happened there. Did Ouyang Luo Shong demonstrate that formidable strength? No, it's not true. That evil force doesn't go the same way as the cold and clear moonlight on that woman's body. Kai Yang furrowed his brows in contemplation. Swoosh! A foreign lightning shot from afar towards his position. Kai Yang's eyes shot out divine lights while whispering, the soul consciousness spear of Bo Zun. He extended his arm and snatched. A giant hand appeared in the void, seizing that soul consciousness spear. Kai Yang felt it for a while and then suddenly got up, stepping forward. It was like he had crossed the space. Within only one step, he had left the Divine Sword Island to the location of the three god sects Sun, Moon, Star Islands. The Snow Dragon Island. Demon King Bo Zun released a flow of soul consciousness, then turned into a dark, gloomy ghostly light, shooting towards the Sun, Moon, Star Islands. The two great demon kings understood each other well as they didn't beat the drum to summon warriors of the demon tribes and just acted alone. They seemed to spot something, gliding through the space. What's happened? At the foot of the Snow Dragon Mountain, Yu Ru of the White Wing clan watched the ghostly light shoot away. Doubts flooded her charming face. It's been a long time since Master Bo Zun got out from his place. He left without leaving any words. Is something big happening? Di Shan of the Black Wing clan kept his cold face while looking at the general direction where Bo Zun disappeared, shaking his head. Don't know. Something strange, Yuru knitted her eyebrows. If there were a fight with the enemies out there, he would call us. But he's just left without saying anything. It should be something he found. Is it related to the Three Gods sect? I know they're looking for the sacred land of the Three Gods sect in the sea. Recently, they got some clues. Perhaps, they have finally located the correct location. Di Shan still shook his head. I don't know. Undersea, the Three Gods sect's sacred place. Suddenly, the Three Gods sect's barrier that kept the seawater out sparkled with countless dots of light. Moonlight, starlight, and sunlight all shone on it. Chapter 478. Those upholding justice will find help everywhere. Chapter 478. Those upholding justice will find help everywhere. Ouyang Luo Shong and Tang Yuan Nan discolored at the same time. The change of the outside barrier made them realize something. Many disciples of the Three Gods sect were terrified, looking at the barrier with fear on their faces. Shi Yang didn't know what was happening. Together with the Three Gods sect's members, he looked at the barrier with a puzzled face. He was a little bit surprised, asking Tang Yuan Nan, Precursor Tang, what's happening? They found us. Tang Yuan Nan's countenance was solemn. Ever since they came, Demon Kings Kai Yang and Bo Zun have been looking for the Three Gods sect's sacred place. The barrier outside our sacred place could prevent all soul consciousness probes. Although Bo Zun and Kai Yang have the deep understanding of esoteric teachings, they could hardly cover this place with their soul consciousness. How about now? Your puppet has released a very formidable surging energy that even this barrier couldn't hide. Tang Yuan Nan forced a smile. Bo Zun and Kai Yang all have divine abilities, and now their real bodies are in the Yuan Luo Sea, too. Within this short distance, they can sense it. Ah! Shi Yang changed his face, having regret inside. I'm sorry. I didn't know it. I was careless this time. It's useless saying sorry. Ouyang Luo Shong made a quick decision. There are many disciples with low realms in the sacred place. If we let Bo Zun and Kai Yang intrude, they will destroy the sacred place and these weak disciples wouldn't survive. What do we do now? Shi Yang was embarrassed. Will this puppet be able to fight off the powers of the third sky of spirit realm warriors? Ouyang Luo Shong asked in a serious tone. I'm certain about that. Good then. We now go to the Sun Island and wait for them. We are the targets of the two great demon kings. If we leave the sacred place, they won't go there to find us. Ouyang Luo Shong immediately arranged. Get out right now. We shall wait for the two great demon kings on the Sun Island. Tang Yuan Nan nodded. Shi Yang said, good. The three of them then moved to the teleportation formation in the middle of the sacred place. When they stood firmly, Tang Yuan Nan activated the formation immediately. A bunch of light sparkled when they disappeared. A second later, they appeared on the Sun Island. After experiencing the great change 1 year ago, the prosperous Sun Island was now left with collapsed walls and weeds. Even the divine temple was now a pile of debris. The three of them went to the sacred mount which had many hot springs. They didn't cover their auras, waiting for the demon king's soul consciousness to find them. Two eccentric surging beams of soul consciousness covered Sun Island right when they disclosed themselves. These beams of surging soul consciousness were like rippling water, probing the whole island. It seemed that the two great demon kings had never given up the Sun Island. I think the two great demon kings will both come here soon. Ouyang Luo Shong's tone didn't have any fear, calmly comforting those around her. They are in a hurry this time. I think they won't bring hotshots from the demon tribes. As long as your puppet can deal with a demon king, I can lengthen the time. We will wait until the change of the earth-shaking powers calls the attention of the hotshots in the adjacent sea areas. I think Cao Qiu Dao and the others won't stay still and would join us. Shi Yang couldn't help frown his eyes hearing her mention Cao Qiu Dao. Even if Cao Qiu Dao comes, he won't help us. I had killed Zhuo Yufeng. Perhaps he would come here to deal with me. Cao Qiu Dao won't be that narrow-minded. He knows about the greater picture. Ouyang Luo Shong shook her head. He sure knows who our main enemies are. If something happens to me, the balance of the endless sea will be broken. At that time, The dark dwellers and the demon dwellers will take the upper hand. I think it's not what he wants to see. I don't trust him. Shi Yang contemplated for a while, then flew out to the sea. He told the war devil to get into the water and release its intimidating earth-destroying aura from there. What are you doing? Tang Yuan Nan was puzzled. Previously, Shi Yang hadn't told him anything before they found the change outside the barrier. Thus, they didn't know the agreement between Shi Yang and Enyu Lang, the peerless, #1 hotshot of the sea tribes. The Black Flood Dragon clan on the seabed isn't far from here. With Enyu Lang's cultivation realm, he sure can sense the aura of the war devil. Shi Yang didn't hide the information. As long as Enyu Lang finds it, he will come. When Enyu Lang joins us, we will be more certain. Enyu Lang? Ouyang Luo Shong and Tang Yuan Nan were astounded. Although their activities happened mainly on the land, the name of the #1 hotshot of the sea tribes was like thunder in their ears for a long time ago. Enyu Lang, the warrior who was at the third sky of Spirit Realm, had guarded the seabed for years. Even Cao Qiu Dao and Yang Yi Tian didn't dare to extend their tentacles to the seabed. These points showed how dangerous Enyu Lang was. You and Enyu Lang know each other? Tang Yuan Nan asked with astonishment. Yes, Shi Yang smiled, Enyu Lang and I just have an agreement. He and Yin Hui from the Silver Shark clan will help me deal with the dark dwellers in Kiara Sea. However, it seems it didn't go as we planned. I didn't expect that my trip to Yuan Luo Sea would get the two great demon kings on their nerves. I can only notify Enyu Lang earlier than expected. Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong both had an extremely strange complexion hearing his words. Over hundreds of years, the sea tribes had never had good feelings towards people on the sea surface. That year, when Yang Tian Emperor visited the seabed personally, Enyu Lang wasn't friendly at all. If the Yang family in Barren City hadn't helped the sea tribes a lot, Enyu Lang would have soon taken action. Even Yang Tian Emperor at his peak couldn't have a friendship with Enyu Lang. How could he do that? And not just Enyu Lang, according to him, even Yin Hui, an unruly warrior, seemed to have become a good friend of his. What happened after all? Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong eyed Shi Yang suspiciously, their eyes filled with surprise. I'll explain later. We don't have time now, so I can't tell many things. Shi Yang smiled. With Enyu Lang's presence, even if Cao Qiu Dao comes, we don't need to worry about him. If he's willing to help, the endless sea can be steadied. Tang Yuan Nan said, the forces of the sea tribes aren't weaker than any forces of the dark dwellers or the demon dwellers. They're even stronger. If the sea tribes aid us and join hands with the human race, the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers won't dare to swagger in endless sea. Enyu Lang won't join hands with the human race. He just has an agreement with me. Shi Yang's face was arrogant, smiling coldly. Those trash Jiu Xiao, Qing Ming couldn't invite Enyu Lang to join them. If they did, it would be a big surprise. Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong were stunned. Although Shi Yang had revealed his arrogance by chance, the two of them recognized that he had a solid backup. At this moment, the two of them finally realized the silent, great change that happened in the endless sea that could tilt the sky or dip the earth due to Shi Yang's appearance. Stroking the blood vein ring, Shi Yang contacted the ring spirit. Soon, 3 living beings including the ice-cold flame, the Holy Spirit God, and the earth flame flew out from the ring, disappearing into the profound chi halo in his abdomen. In just a flash, Shi Yang, who had only a sky realm cultivation base, could release an extremely violent surging energy. It could be compared to a spirit realm warrior. Come out! Shi Yang shouted. The mysterious giant sword turned into a blood beam that shot out from the blood vein ring, falling into his palm. When the giant sword touched his palm, the sinister, brutal aura on his body became denser. Behind him stood the war devil. When it saw the mysterious giant sword appear, blood light flashed in its dark pupils, revealing a trace of respect. The king of demonic insects, a level 8 beast, and the devouring gold silkworm also flew out, perching on his right and left shoulder respectively. Their small eyes sparkled with vicious light. These series of changes happened in a flash. In just a blink, Shi Yang had fused 3 living beings, hauled out the mysterious giant sword, and summoned the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm. The murderous aura on his body soared as he now had the formidable power to confront the spirit realm warriors. Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong dropped their jaws in awe. Truly a monster. Tang Yuan Nan was dumbstruck for a long while. He suddenly beamed a forced smile and shook his head. You fella, you aren't human. With the second sky of Sky Realm, you can possess such abilities and backups. No wonder why you dare to come to Yuan Luo Si alone. You don't even bat an eye on hearing that the demon kings are coming. Tang Yuan Nan had a profound knowledge, of course. He could see the level of the king of demonic insects and how dangerous the metal-class devouring gold silkworm was. With these supports, Shi Yang's arrogance became natural in his eyes. Even Ouyang Luo Shong couldn't help but nod her head and exclaim, worth being the descendant of gods. What? Shi Yang didn't care about these two, just frowned while looking at the tutor C. He urged his soul consciousness to sense, then said surprisingly, interesting. From the response echoed from Tutor C, he recognized a familiar aura. It was the 10,000-year king corpse. After he had borrowed the powers of the three living beings, his senses were enhanced widely. The aura he had released had caught the attention of the 10,000-year king corpse in the corpse god sect, who had a connection with him. It then sent him a friendly thought and asked, "What's happened to you? Need help? If possible, come to me." He pressed his soul consciousness into a beam and tried to send it away. The corpse god sect was situated next to the Tutor C, adjacent to Huan Luo Si, and not too far from the Sun Island. Not long after he had sent his soul consciousness, he received a response. "We'll be there immediately." "What's going on?" Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong asked as they saw him startle. "Haha, I didn't expect that my accidental deeds that year pay me with a good friendship." Shi Yang smiled cheerily. "The 10,000-year king corpse of the corpse god sect sent me a message that it would come to help." "Ah!" Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong couldn't help but scream simultaneously. "You even have a friendship with the king corpse?" Tang Yuan Nan rubbed his face, thinking that the surprises Shi Yang brought him today were like tsunamis, striking him one after another. He couldn't help it. Yeah, a little connection. Shi Yang felt joyful. These strange living beings remember favors and know how to repay. Just give them a hand, and they will remember it. From this aspect, they are much better than ordinary humans. Ouyang Luo Shong looked at him but didn't say anything. Chapter 479, Fulfill Expectations. Chapter 479, Fulfill Expectations. What should be arranged had been arranged. What they could do now was just wait. Standing on the Sun Island, Shi Yang, Ouyang Luo Shong, and Tang Yuan Nan wore solemn faces, looking at the expanding ghostly clouds in the sky. They knew that the two great demon kings were about to arrive. Indeed, not long after that, two figures appeared on the ghostly clouds. In just a blink of an eye, those two figures descended on the Sun Island, standing in front of Shi Yang and the others. The demon kings Kai Yang and Bo Zun, the two peak warriors of the demon area, had finally arrived at the Sun Island. Kai Yang came from the Black Scale clan, and Bo Zun came from the Dragonhorn clan. They were both 3 meters tall with hefty builds. Intimidating surging energies were rippling from their bodies. The main characters had arrived. After they had come, Kai Yang glared at Shi Yang and laughed with a surprised face. "Didn't expect you're here, too." Bo Zun was bewildered for a while, his eye cold and gloomy. "You are the brat that hurt Mo Chi Ta?" Shi Yang frowned and nodded. "It's true." "Good then," Bo Zun harumphed. "The Three Gods sect has been hiding in the sea for long. Well, this time that you dare to come out, I assumed you are tired of being alive. If the Three Gods sect surrenders, I will let you control the territory that belongs to you. But if you go against us, today, I'll erase the name of the Gods sect from the endless sea." "Stop babbling," Ouyang Luo Shong said. "If you want to eradicate the Three Gods sect, let's see if the two demon kings here have good taste or not. The terrific aura that came out from the sea doesn't belong to you." Kai Yang was still cautious, observing everywhere. He seemed to be trying to find out the targets. However, he couldn't see anything abnormal. He was more surprised. "Who did that?" The war devil had hidden its aura, and the surging energy of its body had disappeared. Even the two great demon kings couldn't figure it out. This showed that although the war devil was just a black iron puppet, it had something special. Even the demon kings who had the third sky of spirit realm cultivation base couldn't find it, which revealed the extraordinary features of the puppet. Who? Shi Yang curled his lips into a smile. You're too sensitive. There are so many things in the endless sea that you don't know of. Do you think that you could embrace everything, and know every single event in the endless sea with just a flicker of your thoughts? Although Nu Lang and the King Corpse hadn't come yet, he wasn't anxious, just babbling with the two great demon kings. The more time he could extend, the better his situation would be. Thus, he didn't hurry to take action, just waiting to see if he could talk more. No matter it was Nu Lang or the King Corpse, they all had the formidable powers. If they urged all their strength to fly there, they could arrive at the Sun Island not long afterward. If he could seize the chance, perhaps he didn't need to utilize all of his forces and just borrow the powers from Nu Lang and the King Corpse to oppress the two great demon kings. Cao Qiu Dao's in the Tutor Sea. He's always paying attention to things here. If he comes here, it's going to be tough for us then. Kai Yang was calm, as he said with frowning brows, this battle shouldn't go on for too long. Bo Zun understood the matter well. Right after that, thick clusters of black clouds drifted over, covering the whole Sun Island in just a blink. The light at twilight couldn't pierce through those ghostly clouds. The light on the Sun Island dimmed. A huge pressure pressed down from the ghostly clouds, just like a big mountain pounding on the hearts of Shi Yang's group. When the ghostly clouds pressed down, Demon King Bo Zun took action first. He opened his mouth and spurted out ghostly spheres, each of them pitch black and carrying a rippling energy like water waves. 10 ghostly spheres lined up, forming a bizarre ghost formation. Loud impacts constantly arose from it. Under the noisy impact, some shattered structures in the Sun Island were trembling as they couldn't bear the pressure, about to collapse. The 10 ghostly spheres circled, taking in the energy of the ghostly clouds in the sky. Their size was increased from fist size to a human head size. At the same time, the rippling energy inside the spheres was vibrating magically. It seemed like they had an evil force that could seal the whole space. Boom! All of a sudden, 10 ghostly spheres burst off. Beams of ghost light spluttered out from the inside, weaving a black cocoon covering the sky over the Sun Island. The earth and heaven essence chi gathering year-round on the Sun Island seemed to be confined directly, unable to move with the wind anymore. Under that massive cocoon, the heaven and earth essence chi was dispersing, discharging from the Sun Island. Demon tribes didn't need to borrow the essence chi from earth and heaven. Bo Zun had washed away the essence chi here to prevent Shi Yang and his group from using it to enhance their strengths. The thick, ghostly clouds in the sky hindered the moonlight, sunlight, and starlight, preventing them from continually supplying to the 3 great martial spirits of sun, moon, and star. Next, Kai Yang took action. Both of his hands were pulling something from the void. Then, a giant demonic dragon was pulled down from the ghostly cloud. This demonic dragon was made from his energy, looked true to life, and hiding a terrifying surging energy in its body. He had pulled down 12 demonic dragons in total. Each 4 of them grouped, attacking Shi Yang and the others separately. Fight! Shi Yang shouted. The eyes on the mysterious giant sword in his hands opened. At the same time, a strong, evil world-destroying aura gushed out from the war devil standing behind him all of a sudden. Dark halo bloomed on the black iron body of the war devil. His dark heart pounded as he extended one arm, snatching the oncoming demonic dragon. Kai Yang and Bo Zun had their eyes lit up, looking at the war devil. At this moment, no one dared to be careless watching the aura expand from the war devil. It even frightened the demon kings. The war devil stretched its arms. The dark light blinked in its palm, and a large, pitch-black hole appeared. It seemed to be able to devour all the light, and was like the most mysterious black hole in the galaxy that could even drag all the stars in. The 4 demonic dragons plunging to Shi Yang were wiggling crazily even before they could reach him. The dark hole on the war devil's palms was enlarging. Within 3 seconds, it expanded to the size of the abyss in hell, flying out from the war devil's palms like a giant mouth of a ferocious beast, swallowing the 4 demonic dragons. The 4 demonic dragons struggled in the air in an attempt to get rid of the devouring force of the dark hole. However, the more they moved, the closer to the hole they got. Eventually, the 4 demonic dragons had turned into 4 beams of dark light, disappearing into the pitch-black hole of the war devil. What foreign thing is that? Kai Yang discolored. Looking at the war devil, his face stiffened. Before he came here, he didn't expect to meet such a bizarre thing. It could release a tremendous aura, and it seemed to have intellect. This made him instinctively tense. Go. Shi Yang pointed to Kai Yang, his face cold. Use all forces to kill him. 1 year ago, Kai Yang had attached to the flesh body of Xiao Hanyi, crossing the void to enter the Sun Island. At that time, he had savaged Xie Shenchuan and killed Linda within a short period. That was a disastrous defeat. He could only open his eyes and see Xie Shenchuan and Linda get killed without being able to do anything. Kai Yang had taught him what the so-called hopelessness was. Also, after that battle, he was more determined, walking on the training path to thrive his powers. He had to make himself stronger at any cost, not wasting even a fraction of a second as he focused on his cultivation, which would enable him to take revenge one day. Today, it was the same place, the Sun Island, and the same enemy. However, today was different from 1 year ago. Today, his cultivation base was equal to the spirit realm. He had the giant mysterious sword, the king of demonic insects and the devouring gold silkworm. And the war devil. In this battle, he had to take back the humiliation he had suffered that day from the one who initiated it. The war devil acted as ordered. Its body was like a beam of dark light, appearing in front of Demon King Bo-Zun in just a flash. Dark light bloomed on its black iron armor. An earth-destructing aura covered the entire Yuan Luo Sea from the puppet. Kai Yang wore a stony face. He couldn't help but be more cautious, pouring out all of his powers to counter the war devil. 2 dark lights intertwined above the Sun Island. Wherever they passed, land slid, and the earth split apart. Although the war devil was just a chunk of iron, its reflexes were fast as lightning, with the aura like a rainbow. Unexpectedly, it could perform all kinds of mysterious martial arts that could hardly be predicted. Under the urge of its dark heart, the dark energy on its body was torrential as it was playing hard on Kai Yang without falling into a disadvantage. Holding the giant sword, Shi Yang was calm, watching the war devil and Kai Yang fight. He cracked a cold smile while seeing mountains get leveled where the other 2 passed by. The war devil didn't fail him. Even Demon King Kai Yang couldn't gain the upper hand while fighting against the war devil. All kinds of earth-shaking attacks from Kai Yang were blocked by the black armor on the puppet. At the same time, the armor didn't have any signs of being cracked or broken. Quite the contrary, dark light radiating on it became more dazzling, revealing a solid cold aura. This puppet follows your orders. Bo-Zun didn't take action yet. He frowned, looking at the war devil and Kai Yang fighting. Ghost light shone from his pupils like lanterns that could take people's souls away. It's true, nodded Shi Yang callously. Then I have to kill you first. A light crossed over Bo-Zun's eyes as he swung his left arm. A giant white claw appeared in the sky. It was transparent like white jade, with patterns that looked like its veins where strange energy was moving. The white claw was like a mountain with its 5 fingers as 5 hooks, pressing down on Shi Yang. Chapter 480, Showing Remarkable Ability. Chapter 480, Showing Remarkable Ability. Such a good thought. The moon god Ouyang Luo Shong slightly shouted. The moonlight on her body condensed into a light column in front of her. In a flash, that column turned into a moonlight armor. The armor was like the still water in the pond under the moonlight, directly impacting against the giant white claw from Bo-Zun. Bang! Like a collapsing mountain, countless black and white light dots shot out, while the whole Sun Island trembled. The great sunlight cover. Sun god Tang Yuan Nan roared. The scorching solar heat turned into fiery flames, forming a blazing halo reaching to Bo-Zun. Little tricks. Bo-Zun harumphed. A dark green spirit snake shot out from his sleeve. The snake was icy cold as cold air emitted from its entire body. It opened the mouth and nipped at the great sunlight cover. Numerous gloomy energy waves rippled, attacking the great sunlight cover and dissolving its fiery power. Shi Yang kept his cold face, watching the moon god and the sun god taking action. But he wasn't in a hurry, just coldly staring at Bo Zun. Thick bony thorns suddenly jutted out from behind Bo Zun. Thousands of thorns combined, forming a white bone throne, on which Bo Zun sat down. Giant skulls emerged from his sleeves as countless ghosts appeared inside the skulls. They were baring their fangs and claws, releasing their evil soul attacks. Skulls lined up in the sky, turning into a massive skull that was as big as a mountain. This skull was snow white, around hundreds of meters tall. It suddenly pounded down on Shi Yang with a malicious, ghostly aura. The soul-terminating surging spirit from the pupils of the giant skull directly aimed at Shi Yang's sea of consciousness. Shi Yang was calmer, realizing that the opponent was using soul attacks to face him. He stood still, waiting for this surging spirit to enter his body. Waves of soul-destroying soul consciousness entered his sea of consciousness like lightning. However, they got covered in flames and were burned down to ashes before they could perform their deeds. Bo Zun was trembling as a halo flickered in his eyes. Apparently, his soul consciousness was damaged. The Nine Serenities soul-devouring flame was the sharp weapon that could destroy all kinds of souls or soul consciousness. As long as it stayed hidden inside Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, he didn't need to worry about the eradicating soul consciousness. Bo Zun wasn't an exception. When Bo Zun's soul consciousness was burned down, Shi Yang suddenly remembered Yi Tianmo and his friends, and his face turned strange. Only the group of Yi Tianmo and Di Shan knew about the existence of the Nine Serenities soul-devouring flame on his body. If Bo Zun had known about the flame, he wouldn't have been reckless in using a soul attack, leading to his soul consciousness getting damaged. Thus, he knew that Yi Tianmo and Di Shan hadn't disclosed his situation to Bo Zun. Since their tribes were clamped between Kai Yang and Bo Zun, Yi Tianmo and Di Shan had to give in. Shi Yang had been enraged at that time, but later when he thought about it, he understood they had their difficulties. 1 year ago, when he had come close to the Snow Dragon Island, the three of Yi Tianmo's group had noticed his aura. He then asked Di Shan and Yu Ru to warn him not to enter the Snow Dragon Island due to the presence of Bo Zun. Also, thanks to his face, Yi Tianmo and Di Shan had discreetly released He Qing Man. These small details showed him that Di Shan, Yi Tianmo, and the others had to comply with the demon tribes because of the temporary difficulties, but they still remembered him as their old master. They didn't turn their back on him or disclose his secrets. He frowned while pondering. Shi Yang felt a little bit better when he knew that Di Shan and Yi Tianmo weren't some sorts of traitors. The knot in his heart was untied. You can erase my soul consciousness. Suddenly, Bo Zun grinned fiendishly, faced up the sky and shouted. Even Yang Tian Emperor didn't have this ability that year. You're just a junior from the Yang family, but you do have peculiar abilities. Seems like I have to kill you today. If I don't irradiate you today, you will become another Yang Tian Emperor. Kid, you can be proud. Then, a devil bell flew out from Bo Zun's sleeve, which had many carvings of ancient demonic beasts and scriptures. Thick aura from the demon area was released, seeming to lead to a strange change in the devil aura. The devil bell soared to the sky, and the devil aura over the Sun Island started to surge violently, torrentially gathering towards it. Absorbing the devil aura, the bell gradually swelled, while the small ancient carvings on the bell became clearer. Those beasts looked ferocious, just like they were about to fly out from the devil bell. The devil bell pressed down from above Shi Yang's and the others' heads, releasing 7 layers of devil light. Each layer had the phantom of an ancient demonic beast, emanating the ominous aura of the threatening demonic beasts in the primitive era. 7 layers of devil light slowly pushed down like 7 massive boards. The phantoms of demonic beasts inside the light were showing claws and fangs, shrieking with a terrifying aura. An extremely heavy pressure covered his whole body. Shi Yang actually had a feeling of being pounded by a mountain as his body felt sluggish, unable to urge his powers. The three alien things, including a giant white claw, a behemoth skull, and a devil bell released by Demon King Bozun, appeared on the sky of the Sun Island. They were all malicious, and Ouyang Luo Shong, Tang Yuan Nan, and Shi Yang couldn't help but put forth all of their powers to resist. Ouyang Luo Shong was urging her moonlight armor constantly to parry the giant white claw, while Tang Yuan Nan was utilizing all of his forces to confront the massive skull. However, he seemed to be struggling powerlessly. With this situation, the skull would soon dominate him. As Ouyang Luo Shong saw Tang Yuan Nan unable to endure any longer, in the void, she used the moonlight to condense a moonlight sacred sword, distracting her mind to control it to aid Tang Yuan Nan. She could only prevent the skull from killing Tang Yuan Nan for a short time. The giant white claw and the massive skull forced the moon god and the sun god to urge all of their powers to counter. No matter what, Demon King Bozun was a strong warrior at the third sky of Spirit Realm, who was the tyrant of the demon area for years. His powers were truly sky-piercing and earth-splitting, worth the name of the most ferocious slaughter in this world. Although moon god Ouyang Luo Shong had the moonlight accumulated for thousands of years, she was at the first sky of Spirit Realm only. When joining hands with Tang Yuan Nan, they could only resist half of the power of Bozun. They weren't free to care about that devil bell. As the 7 layers of devil light were pressing down, the pressure it brought had suffocated Shi Yang. Without the powers of the 3 living beings, he was afraid that his knees would go soft. Perhaps, he would be pushed face down on the ground and be unable to get on his feet again. I got this devil bell and the unbounded devil blade from the chaotic basin of the space. Recently, I haven't encountered many strong characters that were worth using them against. It's your fortune to die under this bell. Bozun exaggerated, his face arrogant. Apparently, he didn't consider Shi Yang his match. The devil light from the devil bell slowly pushed down, as the heavy pressure kept increasing. Under such circumstances, Shi Yang still kept calm, not hurrying to make any counterattack while he kept pouring more energy into the mysterious giant sword. This sword could slash a slit on the unbounded devil blade, and could break a sacred level treasure within one strike. It was absolutely one of the god-level secret treasures that existed in this world. Although he hardly utilized all of the sharp powers of this sword, he believed that it did have the power to fight once with Bozun's devil bell. But he should not hurry. He needed to accumulate powers sufficiently to bring out the best of the sword in this battle. The devil light was still pushing down, but Shi Yang stood still, crazily pouring energy into the giant sword. The closed eyes opened one by one, and by now, half of the eyes on the giant sword were opened. All of a sudden, Shi Yang felt fatigue. This was the sign of consuming too much power. "It's now," he shouted, as all of his spirit, chi, and energy gathered at one point, jumping into the giant sword. A destructive aura burst out from the mysterious giant sword. The giant sword pierced to the void, directly towards the devil light released by the devil bell. Red eyes blinked on the giant sword, while the wild, evil, destructive aura was activated brutally on the giant sword. It drew a long, bloody rainbow in the air, slashing directly on the devil light. Rumbling, rumbling, rumbling. The rumbling noises echoed from the devil light. The phantoms of ancient demonic beasts were dissolved into countless light dots that shot everywhere on the Sun Island. 5 out of 7 layers of devil light emitted from the devil bell were torn apart. The remaining 2 layers still pressed down, just like they had to kill Shi Yang at any cost. Still not enough power. Shi Yang sighed inside. He knew that if he could gather enough energy, he could open all the eyes on the giant sword and that would boost the power of the mysterious sword to double. If he had done that, he believed that he could have broken the devil bell with only one slash. Unfortunately, even if he had borrowed the external forces, he could hardly control the giant sword wholly, and couldn't bring out its best. Seeing the 2 remaining layers of devil light pressing down, he couldn't help but watch them since he had already urged too much energy, and couldn't mobilize more at this moment. Right at this moment, a roar came up from the seawater. At that point, people could only see a colossal trident carrying a humongous amount of seawater shooting towards the devil bell. As the trident emerged from the sea, a sharp aura covered the entire Sun Island all of a sudden. The explosive sound was created when the trident jabbed at the devil bell. Countless phantoms of ancient demonic beasts on the bell faded somehow. Also, the two devil light layers pushing down on Shi Yang were scattered when the bell got hit. Seeing the trident, Shi Yang was shaken. He knew that the peerless warrior of the sea tribes had come. "Who the hell are you?" Bo Zun discolored, looking at the hefty man slowly emerging from the sea. "Enyu Lang, the patriarch of the Black Flood Dragon clan." Bo Zun was scared as he shouted, "What does it matter to you? Your sea tribes are also bullied by the human race. Why you want to help humans?" "I'm not going to help the humans. I only aid Shi Yang himself." Enyu Lang wore a calm face as he nodded at Shi Yang. "Facing those demon tribes, will our agreement still work?" Shi Yang smiled and nodded, "Of course." Chapter 481, Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea. Chapter 481, Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea. Underscore. As Enyu Lang arrived, Shi Yang's danger was relieved. Both of them were at the third sky of Spirit Realm, so Enyu Lang shouldn't bear much loss fighting against Bo Zun. At his debut, he had smashed the devil light emitted by the evil bell, which obliterated the threat Shi Yang was facing. Shi Yang seized the chance and gathered the power in his body to ensure the energy his body needed. Demon King Bo Zun got mad, his roar reverberating the whole Sun Island. As they were all foreign tribes, Bo Zun assumed that Enyu Lang was supposed to have the same resentment as him, and that he would treat the humans as their enemies. It was out of his expectations that Enyu Lang came to help Shi Yang. Bo Zun found it hard to accept this. Human race is always hostile to alien races. The sea tribes are also alien races to them. They've oppressed you for thousands of years. At present, the human race is in danger. I don't need your help here. As long as you play cool and don't poke your nose in it, I can subdue the spirit of the human race. From now on, you sea tribes won't need to worry about humans taking action against you. Why don't you want it? Bo Zun's face was filled with a murderous aura while cold light sparkled in his eyes. He appeared to be annoyed. Enyu Lang wore a faint appearance, frowned and said coldly, "I've told you. I come here to aid Shi Yang. It doesn't mean that I want to cooperate with the human race. For this kid." Bo Zun sneered. "What can he offer you? What makes you cover him like this? He can give me something you can't." Enyu Lang's eyes became burning. Just with a thought of the life original fluid, which would guide his steps to the true God realm, he couldn't hold his excitement. He'd been yearning for the true God realm for a really long time. From the day he had entered the spirit realm, he'd held the hope that he could enter this realm one day. Hundreds of years had passed while he always focused and tried his best for this goal. After he entered the third sky of spirit realm, he thought about it day and night, in the hope that he could break through soon. Shi Yang's life original fluid was magical. To him, it was the encounter he was dreaming about desperately. Compared to the life original fluid, the future of the endless sea was nothing. As long as he could reach the true God realm, even if Enyu Lang didn't swaggeringly invade the great sea areas of the endless sea, his existence would be enough to shake anybody there. In the future, he could even take the sea tribes out of the endless sea, heading to a vaster world. Only the true God realm could help him achieve the wonderful future that he hadn't dared to dream of before. What did he offer you? Bo Zun's face was cold. What he can give you, I can, too. You can't. Enyu Lang shook his head and smiled. Stop talking nonsense. If you want to touch Shi Yang, forgive me, fella, but I won't just stand and stare. I came here from the seabed to protect him, to ensure that he would have not even a single wound. So, you're determined to protect him? True. Bo Zun grinned fiendishly and roared, then don't blame me for showing no mercy. I want to see the peerless techniques of the sea tribes. Then, Bo Zun opened his mouth, spurting out a devil light which was immediately absorbed by the devil bell. A soul-oppressing sound echoed from the bell from time to time. It looked like many demon gods had been revived from the antiquity time. These disorderly waves of wild, ghostly sounds seemed to drag people into the demon area, enchant them and keep them from staying conscious. At the same time, Bo Zun soared up from his white bone throne as sharp beams of light shot out from his 5 fingers. These beams shot over and intruded the giant bone claw and the skull in the sky, which made the surging energy on these 2 colossuses more intimidating. Bo Zun had urged all of his powers, yet Enyu Lang wasn't afraid. He flung the trident in his hand. Suddenly, dozens of transparent water monsters jutted out from the sea around the area. They had a serpentine shape, and were condensed from the seawater. They were towering the area like sky pillars, emitting the intent domain of the ocean, accommodating everything. The 10 water monsters were like the flickering candles in the wind, rocketing from the sea and striking towards the giant white bone claw and the skull. Abruptly, all of the terrifying surging energy and the ghostly cloud above the Sun Island were smashed broken. The barrier that confined the earth and heaven essence chi had vanished into thin air. These 10 towering water monsters swayed, fighting with the bone claw and the skull. Enyu Lang turned himself into a strong wave, holding the trident to battle with Bo Zun. Wind and cloud discolored while the earth and firmament darkened. Furious surging energy tore the space, making the heaven and earth forces in the Sun Island change, radiating a brilliant light. Tsunamis constantly raged in the surrounding area. The air was extruded while making a strange hissing noise. Wherever these beams of light crossed, they left deep holes in the land, which looked really exaggerated. As Enyu Lang had arrived, not only did he release Shi Yang, but also freed Ouyang Luo Shong and Tang Yuan Nan. The giant white bone claw and the skull were aimed at Enyu Lang only, not having more tricks to deal with the other 2. This gave them time to breathe and recovered the energy that they had consumed. What did this boy do to have Enyu Lang's protection? Tang Yuan Nan was suspicious, walking to him. He forced a smile. I have found that I can't understand you lately. Enyu Lang's really extraordinary. His fame as the #1 warrior of the sea tribes is real. Ouyang Luo Shong exclaimed slightly, then said again, Bo Zun has a subtle, mysterious powers. The rumor's true though. I used to think that I had absorbed the moonlight for 1,000 years, which should enable me to deal with Bo Zun without falling into a disadvantage. But today, I know that if Bo Zun urges all of his powers, I'm no match for him. Bo Zun's been famous for years. Of course, he isn't a typical person. Tang Yuan Nan looked solemn. In the endless sea, only Cao Qiu Dao, Yang Tian Emperor, and Yang Yi Tian have the power to battle with him. Besides them, the others could only hold it for a certain period. It's impossible to gain the upper hand from the 2 great demon kings. How about the king corpse? Shi Yang was bewildered for a while and then asked. One corpse king isn't the demon king's opponent. Tang Yuan Nan mused as if he was considering, then said, anyway, if the 2 king corpses join hands, they would be able to deal with 1 demon king. His face went shocked, looking at Shi Yang. Hey, I heard that one of the king corpses gained his intellect and his well-being thanks to the relationship with you. Is it true? Smiling and nodding, Shi Yang didn't want to conceal. Yeah, a freak combination of factors. I don't know what happened, but I do have a subtle soul connection with the king corpse. Haha, it's weird for me too. I didn't expect that I could vaguely sense the aura of the king corpse from this far distance. Since the 2 king corpses have gained their intellect and consciousness of their beings, they became so dangerous. They've taken the corpse god sect and snatched the tyrant role of Qing Ming. Tang Yuan Nan was more serious. You should pay attention. The powers of the king corpses have been enhanced thoroughly. When dealing with them, don't be careless. Harumph. Do you really think that we're the same as humans? Right at this moment, a sharp voice arose from the sea. A coffin flew up from the water. Standing on the coffin was a hairy king corpse with sharp hands. He was looking at Tang Yuan Nan with brutish eyes. Under his attentive gaze, Tang Yuan Nan was embarrassed, clasped his fist and greeted. I spoke thoughtlessly. Another coffin appeared from the cloud. Another king corpse stood there as the coffin was slowly descending. King corpses could use the powers of the 5 elements even if they were in the sky or underground. Nothing was beyond their ability. The seawater in the endless sea was also one of their sharp weapons. As the 2 king corpses arrived, they all heard what Tang Yuan Nan said, and were staring at him wickedly. The king corpse in the sky had calm eyes, looking more human. He was the king corpse that had the direct connection with Shi Yang. After he landed, he smiled amicably at Shi Yang. Although the smile on his hairy face was horrible, everybody could see his goodwill. "Thanks for coming," Shi Yang smiled to them and said in a friendly manner. "This matter has nothing to do with you guys. Without you, we would still be the slaves of the Three Gods sect, never having a chance to make a turn." The king corpse from the sky beamed a smile. "We appreciate you a lot. The aura on your body's something we like, too. You gave us a big favor, so we should pay you back. It's what we should do." The other king corpse didn't have a human face. He still looked pretty brute, his eyes callous. He seemed unable to control his emotions well. However, he was calm, looking at Shi Yang with curiosity. A strange light flashed in his eyes. "I'm called Corpse Mount, and he's called Corpse C. Corpse C hasn't gained full consciousness yet, so he can't control himself well. We need you to help him a bit." The king corpse Shi Yang knew pointed at himself to introduce his name, and then introduced the other. This was the first time the king corpses introduced their names to the others. Shi Yang was surprised for a while. He didn't expect that these two king corpses would have names. Corpse Mount and Corpse C, odd names. Anyway, they weren't human, so it was already good if they could name themselves. One shouldn't ask for more. The same way? Shi Yang pondered, frowned, and asked. Corpse Mount nodded, yes, that way. He then shifted his look to Corpse C. Don't worry. His method's good for us. You just need to feel it. Apparently, Corpse Mount was the boss. Under his comforting words, Corpse C nodded simple-heartedly. His brutal, bloodthirsty eyes foolishly looked at Shi Yang. Shi Yang's mind was struck. Under the other's look, he unexpectedly had the thought of slaughtering. Forcefully pressing down the dark desire in this mind, he came to Corpse C. Next, he urged the energy in his body, condensed a life seal and put it on Corpse C's chest. 7 layers of the seal piled up, disappearing into Corpse C in just a blink of an eye. Strange light expanded all over his body. The chaotic thoughts in Corpse C's brain were stabilized by the help of the life seal, becoming magically tranquil. Corpse C's bloodthirsty eyes gradually calmed down. The aura of death on his body was also diluted to a great extent. This gave people a human-like feeling, really magical. Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong were stunned on watching the scene. What kind of a martial technique is that? Tang Yuan Nan let out a sigh. This doesn't belong to the Three Gods sect, neither the Yang family. Kid, where did you learn it? Shi Yang smiled but didn't answer, just kept quiet, looking at the change in Corpse C. Chapter 482, Wind and Clouds Discolor. Chapter 482, Wind and Clouds Discolor. After Corpse C got the life seal, he was like an enraged beast turning into a nice lamb. The life seal was changing his body, adjusting his chaotic conscious and waking him from the realm of insanity. If a beast could calm down and reason with human intellect, its intimidating features would be enhanced incredibly. Everybody knew that. Corpse C's change made Tang Yuan Nan and Ouyang Luo Shong astounded. The life seal Shi Yang had performed was mysterious beyond anything they had ever seen before. This sort of a martial technique didn't belong to the Three Gods sect, neither the Yangs. This shocked and frightened the two a lot. As for the doubts of these two, Shi Yang didn't want to explain. He just smiled and watched Corpse C. Corpse C restored his calmness not long after that, becoming like Corpse Mount. His wild eyes had the trace of excitement he had just been familiar with. Next, he glanced at Corpse Mount, nodded to him and then shifted his look to Shi Yang, his eyes grateful. Thank you. Corpse C spoke up in human language. Shi Yang was shaken, and burst out laughing. Good then. Seems you've successfully changed your fate. From now on, you can separate yourself from your fellows. You're smarter and more conscious than them now, and know how to communicate with humans. I think your future will be brighter, not as simple as what you have now. The 10,000 years old king corpses, Corpse Mount and Corpse C, had their eyes brightened with blooming light. What can we help you with? asked Corpse Mount all of a sudden. Shi Yang looked at the battle between Bo Zun and Enyu Lang. His face darkened. I heard that Bo Zun used to visit your corpse god sect. He had talked to you guys. Yeah. He's a dangerous fella. Last time, Corpse C and I had to join forces to somehow resist him. Corpse Mount rose up as the fierce fighting will emitted from his whole body. He seemed to want to join Enyu Lang in fighting Bo Zun to take revenge. As Shi Yang sensed the change of the aura on his body, he curled his lips. I hope you can deal with him. He pointed at Bo Zun. The two king corpses nodded simultaneously. They didn't wait for Shi Yang's order and turned into two brilliant beams of light, striking directly towards Bo Zun. The king corpses hovered in the air, as five-element powers vehemently spread out from their bodies. The light of the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth elements radiated from them, turning into brilliant five-element halos, which could seal and lock any creatures, shooting directly towards Bo Zun. When Bo Zun fought with Enyu Lang alone, their powers were equal, and no one could gain the upper hand from the other. But since the two king corpses had joined their battle, Bo Zun received double the pressure. He couldn't help but urge all of his tricks to defend. The giant white bone claw, the skull, and the devil bell were retrieved to surround him, continually releasing devil halos to prevent Enyu Lang and the king corpses from getting close to him. Bo Zun was really strong, but Enyu Lang and the king corpse weren't weak either. The combined force of the three of them had completely stopped Bo Zun, clamping him and pushing him into a difficult situation. On the other side, the War Devil was entangling with Demon King Kai Yang. The black iron body of War Devil had no flaws. Any martial techniques or magical powers struck on the War Devil couldn't really hurt him. The War Devil knew how to utilize all kinds of deep understanding abilities of his body. While he was taking action, darkness covered everything. Usually, black holes appeared on his body that swallowed everything, including a big part of Kai Yang's power. This made Kai Yang no threat for him at all. War Devil alone was pushing Kai Yang into difficulty, while the latter was trying to use many kinds of different powers to find something that could deprive the fighting ability of the War Devil. However, he made no progress after a long while. The War Devil not only had the inexplicably strong body, but a strange, magical soul, which had the features of a black hole. It could swallow all kinds of soul energies that Kai Yang released. Kai Yang's soul attacks fell into the War Devil's body like a stone falling into the vast sea, making a small ripple before disappearing forever. The two great demon kings arrived at the Sun Island to destroy the sun, moon, star gods. But War Devil, Enyu Lang, and the king corpses were hindering them, forcing them to defend in the Sun Island without a chance to break out. The energy of heaven and earth changed greatly while earth-shaking forces impacted on the Sun Island. This alarmed many strong warriors of the crowded Endless Sea. Snow Dragon Island. A white bone clone hiding deep inside the Snow Dragon Mountain seemed to receive the summon from its master. It flew out from the mountain, heading to the Sun Island. Demon Tribe's hotshots, including Mochi Ta, saw the white bone clone leaving. They were all pale, reluctant for a while before taking out their secret treasures and following the white-bone clone to the Sun Island. What's happening? Fear flooded Yu Ru's charming face. She was staring stunningly at the white-bone clone of Bo Zun. She mused before finally speaking up. Bo Zun must have encountered strong enemies out there. Otherwise, he wouldn't summon his white-bone clone. In the Endless Sea, only Cao Qiu Dao and Yang Yi Tian have the powers to trouble Bo Zun. Is he fighting with Cao Qiu Dao? This has nothing to do with us. Di Shan held an indifferent face, not caring about Bo Zun's life. We came out from the chasm battlefield not to be limited in the Endless Sea. Our ancestors came from the divine Great Land. Bo Zun can't bring the Wings clan a bright and prosperous future. You still think about him. A trace of confusion appeared on Yu Ru's face. She sighed, then gently shook her head. He had left the Endless Sea 1 year ago. We have no news from him since. Sigh, if the situation didn't force us, we wouldn't be like this. I wonder if he would bear a grudge against us. I've made the oath that as long as he doesn't die, he'll be my master, Di Shan said solemnly. The one who could bring us out of the abandoned place, the one who has the bloodline of the immortal God King. According to our ancestors' teachings, he's our master. Although the situation has forced us, and we had to depend on Bo-Zun to save our races from extinction, we have never treated Bo-Zun as our master. If Bo-Zun dies, we're freed from the demon tribes, never to be controlled again. Our master's extraordinary. Uru smiled and nodded in agreement. We don't know where he's been during 1 year. Although we're dependent on the demon tribes, we didn't do anything to betray him. I hope he would forgive us. Whether he forgives us or not, he's still our master. What we can do in the future is to beg for his forgiveness. Di-Shan was stubborn. We should wait patiently. Sooner or later, we will return back to our master. It's our ancestors' will. It should have some meanings there. Only when the Wings clan follow our master can we have a better future. The demon tribes had abandoned us that year, making us get confined for so many years in the abandoned place. Even though we're back in the Grace mainland, we still remember that lesson. As Uru heard him talking about the old stories, she nodded. I hope that one day, our fortunate master can enter the realm strong enough to lead the Wings clan back to our ancestors' land, taking back what belongs to us. I believe our master can do that. It shouldn't take long. In 10 years max, I think master can have the power to fight against Bo-Zun. Di-Shan was certain, talking again arrogantly, give me 30 years more and I'm sure I can break through the third sky of spirit realm. At that time, even if our master doesn't come to us, we still have the powers to leave the demon tribes. Uru's eyes brightened. How about the demonic sound clan? Yi Tian Mo and the others aren't stupid. They should know about the deep meaning in our predecessors' wills. Perhaps they're like us. We're all waiting for the right time. I hope so. Kiara C., Immortal Island. The island that once belonged to a family was now flooded with dark, cold yin. Countless dark dwellers from the underworld were walking back and forth on the Immortal Island, using some mysterious method to convert the earth and heaven essence chi into dark yin chi, suitable for their cultivation. This was a big project that needed countless materials to form the most well-known firmament dark transfer array of the underworld. They had to use the water of the Netherworld River and pour it onto the Immortal Island. Besides, they needed an innumerable number of spirits from resentful souls. If they wanted to move the firmament dark transfer array completely, it would take around 100 years. The Dark Dwellers had started the preparation work. Today was the time of the array's crucial change. The 3 great Yama kings of the underworld had gathered, urging their supernatural powers to carry out the first cycle of the change. The light at twilight was hindered by the dark chi, unable to pierce through to the Immortal Island. The 3 Yama kings stood in a triangle in the middle of the island. They were condensing the dark chi. However, when the first cycle had just begun, the 3 Yama king all sensed an inexplicable change in the heaven and earth's energy. The dark dwellers were good at using soul senses. The 3 Yama kings exchanged looks, then stopped their moves, starting to trace the subtle change in heaven and earth to find where the anomalous event that had happened. Not long afterward, all the 3 Yama kings paled, jolting up from their spot. A strange change comes from Yuan Luo Si, the Sun Island of the 3 Gods sect. Demon chi surging there. It's obvious that Bo-Zun and Kai Yang are fighting with strong warriors there. This fight is so fierce. Perhaps, it would turn the whole situation of the Endless Sea upside down. We shouldn't linger. We must use the fastest pace to get there. If we're late, I'm afraid it would be pretty hard for us to live in peace in Endless Sea. Go. The 3 Yama kings exchanged thoughts, then simultaneously turned into a bunch of lights, shooting towards the Sun Island of the 3 Gods sect. At the same time, Yang Yitian and Xia Qing, who in the Vault of Heaven Sea area also noticed the strange change of the heaven and earth. They all left their cultivating places. Undersea, Yin Hui received the message from an elder of the Black Flood Dragon clan. He then departed from the Silver Shark clan, heading to the Sun Island. Strange things happening on the Sun Island had shaken all the hotshots of the Endless Sea on land and underwater. As the earth-shaking battle progressed on the Sun Island, many warriors were on their ways to the island. The entire endless sea was burning. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.